Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's Tech Talk time, but we are doing the Tech Talk on Sunday this time, at least live streaming it, because the dev server stuff was happening, so a lot of stuff was going on with the dev server, and obviously that takes kind of priority, because, that is subject to change, where this is just, me being stagnant and chatting every week. So this video on YouTube will come out on Monday, but just understand that's just because it's a dev server week. We'll continue with the Sunday stuff going forward, and I have kind of like to do it on Sundays, but I'm having to record this Sunday morning because of the good old devs. And there's been a ton of stuff in the dev server, right? Like there's been a metric ton of stuff to look at and to go over, and a lot of chats, even a bunch of leaks and a bunch of in the file stuff. There's just a bit of everything, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the previous comments of the last Tech Talk. If you have any thoughts or if you have any feelings or whatever, or any discussion points or questions, make sure to put them in the comments section of this one so we can go through them and kind of just have a bit of fun. I am grinding the event, so we're going to be doing our dailies and stuff like that, and just kind of chilling, probably doing the Battle Pass task as well, the surrounded one. Just to get that done, since it'll be easy to do while doing the Tech Talk. So let's get started. Let's see what's around. Nice to see you, Sneaky, and also DARPA Chief. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully everything is going well. Koram-chan with the timestamps as usual. Always kind. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to see them, and always a pleasure to have a good time. And let's see the first point. The Mad Bear says, the title is wild, WTF. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like pretty much at the end of the day, like the title is just stuff that we talked about in the Tech Talk, right? And those were like the things that kind of came around. At the end of the day, like there's this weird crossover of like femboy ideals / weeby ideals and the War Thunder community, probably because one of the target markets of War Thunder is young, isolated men, so they can take your money. And yeah, usually that is also a part of the world which is quite, online is probably the way to put it. So yeah, that's title's just a title, It's just everything that's in the. Well, some of the topics, obviously. I can't put all the topics in the title, otherwise it would be a bit long. So then we have Formed Archon. Where are the femboy? I need my AK-47. And then we have the opposite side of it. So you have the femboy, pro-femboy. Then you have the anti-femboy side. At the end of the day, in the Great War of, the Third World War, whenever it kicks off in the next few years, I feel like femboys are probably not going to do very well. I honestly think they'll just become what we know as cornermen or servicemen, but not that type of servicemen. So generally, maybe they'll survive. Who knows? The great femboy apocalypse may come, but just in a different way that you may see it. Don't know how good a twink is going to be on the front lines, but then again, I don't know how anybody is going to be on the front lines when you just get nuked by a drone. So quite fun. Then we have Chris with a, I don't even know what that means, so it looks like we have all of the wonderful comments this time, all about random ass femboy stuff. And this is why, the femboy thing is so weird, because just like a lot of things on the internet, it either has one aggressive illicit reaction one way, or it has one aggressive illicit reaction the other way. Very weird. But hopefully at some point, we can go back to the culture of just having massive orgies when it comes to guys, spreading a bunch of diseases around and having a good time with a bunch of drugs, Instead of everything being sanitized. Why not just get in there, rumpy-pumpy, have a bit of fun, and then get out, It's the way to be. It's Greek time, baby. Why not? Why not have a bit of fun? Alright, there we go. Then the next one is CSI. Let's see. Since we got the Strike Master for Britain, do you think we'll ever see the Dragonfly for the US? Yeah, I think we will. Spreading cheeks and spreading STDs, exactly. Yeah, I think we will. I think one of the machines for the US, which is been kind of missing for many years, and I know that a model's been made of it because it's been made by Nova, is the OV-10 Bronco. And the Bronco would kind of be like, obviously, the Strike Master, or it would at least have like a similar role to it, and have some kind of crazy weapons. And also, the Bronco has a fantastic thing to it. It's ugly as sin. So because it's ugly as sin, it's one of those things that you can market as an ugly duckling, which has actually worked out pretty well in the past for different vehicles. So yeah, we'll get more strike aircraft, and the reason we'll get more strike aircraft is because if you have a look at the past, they've added more strike aircraft. So this update, a lot of them are strike aircraft. The Buccaneer, the Su-25, the Jaguar IS from the event. There's a bunch of them which are coming, and then also a bunch of them coming later on. Even the Alpha Jet, right, which is the namesake of the update. That is, at least in game terms, it is a strike aircraft. So I'm sure we'll get more and more of those as we go along, and obviously have a good time with this. So, of course, we'll get more vehicles like that. Once they bring in that BR change system, so basically, once they add in the idea that you can actually have a different BR based on the game mode that you're in, it's gonna be really good for vehicles like that. So you'll probably see a massive amount of those vehicles once they try to bring in like that. That's also been something they've added a lot of over the last year anyway. So this might be a reaction to that, but also you're gonna get more as we go along. Eventually they run out of top tier jets, so they got to fill in the CAS elements, and that's what they're doing. By the way, I look like super chunky today. I'm massively bloated, and I have no idea why. So, I don't know what it is about dev servers, but I always have something going on. Like, sometimes it's the jaw, sometimes it's other things. But yeah, I feel like a balloon today. So obviously something has not reacted very well for me when it comes to food-wise. Like, even to a point it's like putting pressure on my chest. I need to just fart a metric ton. To get it out. We're gonna have a bit of rumpy pumpy. Then we have Polish. Hello Tech, hope you're doing good. Yeah, I'm good. We got the majority of the dev server stuff done, which at least for me I'm happy with. There's still a few things that I need to look at. Needs to do a video on the replay system, and needs to do a video on the what's the word? On the new animations for the modifications. But apart from that, yeah, I'm very happy with everything that we've done. We're able to have a look at North Holland, able to look at the In the Far stuff, and yeah, right now, I feel like if I didn't have to do the tech talk, I'd be ahead by a few hours. But because I have to do the tech talk and a few other things, I'm probably behind by about 3 or 4 or 5 hours. But that's fine. At the end of the day, we'll get it all done. Hey Monet, nice to see you. As you probably read my name, you can guess I'm very excited about a Polish subtree. Yeah, people always say the vehicles will be copy-paste, not realizing that the T-34 has many parts which are from Poland. Poland is a great opportunity, especially the top-tier air part, having a MiG-29 with AMRAAMs, F-35s, F-16s, and soon maybe even the F-15EX. I just wish Gaijin would represent one of the most important countries of the war. Important NATO ally, Wall of Europe, etc. Have a great day and greetings from Katowice, or Katowice. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, right? Hungary has been added in the form of air. Every single vehicle is a copy-paste vehicle. And the thing about Poland, right? So you got to understand this. The copy-paste nature of nations never really has been a disqualifying factor. That has been very obvious over the last few years. We now have like 4 nations that have like shilkers, or 3 nations that have shilkers, 4 nations that have like ZSU 57-2s, and MiG-21s. Like there's 3 or 4 nations that have those now. So The disqualifying factor was always what tech tree do you put it in, right? Or where does it fit in the game? And, you know, obviously people trying to push for this independent tree nonsense. So, as a subtech tree, Poland would be fine. And you would basically just be giving a metric ton of Eastern and Western equipment to a nation which could benefit from it. Just like how Italy has benefited a lot from the Hungarian stuff. Hey, Mr. Leopard 287. But the question arises, as always, with Poland. Which nation do you put them in? Like, where do they fit in the grand scale of things? Now, for me, I would take a pragmatic approach, right? So what I would do is I would add them to a tech tree which was struggling the most. So don't really worry about politics or anything like that. Just chuck it into the nation that needs the most vehicles. So what I'd do is I'd probably stick them in France, right? France would be a good pick for something like that, because even though France has a lot of very good vehicles, there are areas of their tech tree where they really suffer, and they do need a bit of help through. So that would be at least an option. Yeah, Israel would also be another one where you would just throw them in, and it would have a very positive effect on the whole tech tree. So doing something like that would be really cool and would be really good. And that's why I'm fine with, you know, nations like Poland being added to the game. I just have an issue when it comes to this independent nature that people bring up, because it just doesn't work. Even with that LATAM tech tree, right? Like we had a look at before, it just doesn't work. And it would be much better if all those vehicles would just split up into their respective tech trees and you would have a good time with it. So yeah, that's pretty much the way, at least, that I see it. I'm fine, and I'm looking forward to more Polish stuff. We do have a bunch of Polish stuff in the game, but I'm sure they'll bring in more, which, at least as I said, I'm fine with. I'd be fine with overall, and I'm hoping that in the future, you know, they can add more, and I'm sure they will. Then we have Mr. Jarvisful, timestamp guy. I summon you. Kawam-chan did his job and got it all sorted, so well done. Good stuff. You have been indeed summoned. Then we have Prawn Ick. Or Prawn I know? I don't know. I kind of like Prawn Ick, though. Just hope for the F2. The F2 is like it's the Viper, right? Like it's not the upgraded F-16, but it's the Japanese built thing that looks like an F-16 but has really cool systems on it, right? Like I remember back in the day when we just had like F4s, people were asking for Japan to get the F2 because they didn't really have anything else to add to the Japanese tech tree. And Gaijin were just like, yeah, it'll come, but like it's way overpowered. Like you would straight up break the game if you added that thing. I still don't think we're at the stage to add it. We're very close to it though, compared to before. But we're talking like 2 or 3 years down the line now. And yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it when it comes out. So I think it'll be quite nice. Overall, it's one of those which is pretty hyped up. Just because, you know, it's a unique Japanese vehicle at the end of the day. Yeah, it'll be cool to see. We chatted about it a lot, and I kind of look forward to it. The main thing I actually look forward to for Japan, though, is the ships. There's a lot of really cool ships coming out, so it should be quite nice. Hopefully Japan gets more of them as it goes forward. Hey Peter, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. So then we have Blasted Hawk. Hello Tech, hope you're doing well. Doing alright. My question is, how would I go about grinding the F111? I'm about halfway there, but it's getting really repetitive playing the A1H. Do you have any planes you'd suggest? Yeah, there's tons of them for America. I would actually highly recommend spading out a bunch of the tech tree vehicles. There's a ton in America which are really fun. The F80, the first one is Grace. The F3D is busted. Has been for a long time. The Banshee is in a good position right now. As long as you stay away from the like 8783 area for America, you'll have a really good time. The F104s are really strong. You just gotta make sure to pick, you know, when you go in pretty well. And the F100's also really strong. So yeah, like both of those are just in insane positions compared to other things. So why not just, you know, end up doing that? For me, I think that's, you know, the most important thing is to just kind of spade those types of vehicles, like all the powerful ones. So, you know, the F80A, the F3D, the F104A, the F104C, the F100D, and you'll just have a really good time. Like, it generally will be quite fun. You don't have to continue just to, you know, play a premium vehicle over and over again. A lot of tech tree vehicles work pretty good, you know. Hey T-Flap, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully life's alright. I don't think in general I actually have had fun kind of like just playing premiums to research stuff. The only time I do that is if they have a new like update and I've already spaded all the vehicles around that area, and then that to me is like, you know, just kind of topping and tailing and getting it all sorted, because I don't find it fun just like doing the same thing over and over again. Like once I'm done with a vehicle, I'm kind of done with it. The only time that's different is if there's like a page of history or something like that, but you know, that's just something that is not grand. So yeah, hopefully you can get it done. But those are the vehicles I would play. If I wasn't thinking about, you know, the if I wasn't thinking about, you know, grinding other stuff, that's the ones I would go for. Planning on buying the new F20? No. So because I'm in the partnership program, I can just request stuff, right? So I'll just request it if I want to play it. But the thing is as well is, let's say I was in a position where I wasn't there, I wouldn't buy it, no. I think they're quite pricey, they're quite expensive. And also at the same time, you know, I have other stuff to spend money on in life. You know, bills and food and all that stuff. For me, War Thunder isn't like... Since, you know, I can just play the game and grind, I've never really... Ooh, well that's a bit rough. I've never seen the use of premiums like a lot of other people have, you know? Don't put them on the ban word list, please, Monet. Remove them. Right. I know it's annoying, but it's also something where we have to redirect people. You can't just turn people off. That's not how this works. Then we have State Monster. Hey Tech, how's your day? So far so good. Like I got up early and got some videos done. I was able to finish all the vehicle videos yesterday. So today I did an in the files video where we had a look at the active radar homing missiles, and also a new Maverick that's coming in, and a new torpedo, some kind of air torpedo, or some kind of aircraft torpedo for the Russians. Some 1970s aircraft torpedo, which just seems kind of weird, but yeah, it's one of those things which is quite nice to see, and you know, I do like looking in the files to see what's going on. What's the difference with the new Maverick? So it's the H2, so I have no idea. I know what the H is, but I don't know what the H2 is. So at least from looking at it, it has a different colored warhead. That's it. I'm guessing there are internal differences, but that's pretty much it. I want your opinion on an idea I had, but this has probably been proposed before and I couldn't find it on the forums. It's probably because they shifted the forums. Vehicles like the M42A have tracers filled with ammo for their guns that they can tow. I think there should be a modification to allow them to bring more ammo / perhaps resupply teammates if Guardian wanted to. You'll be able to hitch and unhitch it whenever you want, but obviously hitching it will reduce mobility. It would have limited ammo, but since its whole purpose would be to store ammo, it would have quite a bit of it. It would work like a small cap point for resupply ammo or maybe repairs. I feel this may be a cool way to introduce an aspect of some vehicles that is often overlooked when talking about them. After all, towable objects exist, like the Churchill flamethrower. The only issue with doing something like this is the idea of a universal ammo, right? So if you're able to resupply everything, then I think that's a little bit odd, since it's more designed to resupply itself. I think that there should be some vehicles in the game which do get tows, right? Or do get like little things hitched to them, but not stuff like the M42. I feel like the M42 has enough ammo. The SU-51 or the Semavente 9053. Like, these vehicles were designed to have like ammo storage next to them. So, for example, for the Semavente 9053, one of the things that they did is they would take an L3 or a similar little track vehicle, and they would bring it alongside, and basically it would always be with the vehicle. So you wouldn't just have 8 rounds on the vehicle. You would have a bunch of them, and that's that's how it would work. So I think overall I would actually prefer that system instead of the one that we have right now, where some vehicles are just extremely limited in the amount of ammo that they can bring. And yeah, they definitely understand that, at least with AA, because they have added in the new system where you can go to cap points, and you can get yourself some pretty good ammo replenishment, because you can actually what's the word? You can actually set it up in a way. You can actually set it up in a way so you are able to. God damn, what's the word I'm looking for? What the? You're able to replenish an ammo belt even though the ammo belt itself hasn't been destroyed. So, or hasn't been all used up. So they're obviously thinking about stuff like that. I think a mechanic like that would be fine, just wandering around. I'd just be a little bit worried about it being universal, just for like the different ammo types. Because then, with squads and stuff, you could just take super low amounts of ammo, and then if you take super low amounts of ammo, you can't get ammo racked, right? Hey Zara, nice to see you. So you would just resupply with the thing next to you over and over again, and certain parts of your vehicle would be just completely immune because you wouldn't be able to set it off. So apart from that, I think it's fine though. The specific vehicles, I think it would be good. So then we have Maxol. I'd like to bring attention to these mech tank monsters that got leaked a few years ago. They're still waiting. Yeah, the big old mech tanks. They actually leaked a bunch of stuff then as well that still hasn't been made to the game. Spitfire Mark 7, still not in the game. Cessna, but also stuff like the Tirpitz, right? There was a bunch of big old ships that were leaked, and it just never went anywhere. So yeah, there's still a bunch of stuff that they haven't added. A lot of them they have though. So it's taken a while, but it kind of shows you how far ahead that they plan these things, which is good. You would want them to do that instead of chasing their tails constantly. So for me, I think it's those mechs really stink of like an April Fool's thing or some kind of special competition thing. And whenever they bring them into the game, I'll be happy with them. The April Fools might be different this year because we don't have a crafting event, right? So I wonder how the event's going to work for it. Is it just going to be a standard market distinction one? Are they going to kind of mix it with something else that's going on? Who knows? Like, we'll have to see what happens with it. Like, at the end of the day, if they have a bunch of assets, they're going to use them. Like, they're not just going to let them sit there and rot. Like, they're going to find a use for them. Like, think about how many times, like, think of how many times they've, like, built something, and then, even though it hasn't worked the first time, they've tried to repurpose it into something else. Because at the end of the day, you don't want, like, just a bunch of dead You just don't want a bunch of dead stuff that you paid money for. You actually want it to be useful and doing something. And, you know, that's obviously what the team is doing. Use SP to drop in supplies, using a similar UI to calling in artillery. Supplies act like a reload point for a short time. Well, once again, like, you know, it's... The problem with doing something like that is you take really limited amounts of ammo and it massively increases your survivability, and then you just keep dropping stuff on your head. Or you get somebody else to drop it on your head, right? Like, so, if you're running around with a bunch of tanks with no ammo in them, at certain BRs that's really hard to actually kill them. Especially the vehicles themselves. Like, imagine if you have, like, I don't know, a KV, or if you have any of the large heavy tanks, and they just kind of sat there with nothing in them. And then you'd have to balance, like, how long it takes to load the round into them, and all of these different stuff. Or people could just go to cap points. You know. With most maps having 3 of them. Which is the thing they're trying to promote right now, right? So, like, why not just do that? So then we have Jerry. Hey, Tugnut's nice to see you. Guardians should make missions where it teaches you how to dodge IRCCM missiles. Like the AIM-9M and R-73. This would be very similar to the weapons testing in the modification menu. Also, I wonder how Gadget will implement modern missiles like the AIM-9X into the game, since they'll be incredibly difficult to dodge. I mean, we already have a ton of missiles in the game which are pretty tough to dodge. Like, you need a bunch of stuff, you know. You need a bunch of stuff to kind of go your way in order to get them, which ain't very fun. Thank you for the subscription, Teddy. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was like 3-hour 20 stream, right? So if you didn't watch all of the streams, then you couldn't get the Abrams. I did get the F-15 camo at least, so we'll see how next week goes with it. But yeah, on the dev server, they have a ton of tutorials now on how to use weapons, which I think is actually really cool. I think overall, when I think about stuff like that and how it's getting implemented in the game, I actually really like it. Because for many years we've talked about the idea of, like, you know, trying to add in tutorials, trying to add in like different things so people can you know, kind of understand what's going on. And with an ever-changing game, like, you know, you can make a bunch of different YouTube videos about it, but within, like, you know, 30 or a few months or a year, it's completely out of date. Which is why, like, you know, recently I had to update my controls video, because the last one I did was a few years ago, and they've added a metric ton of controls. So, with an ever-changing game, you can't have, like, stagnant pieces of content from third parties that people have to rely on. So the way that they're doing it now, where they're actually adding in, like, little tutorials here and there created by themselves, I mean, that's always been, you know, the solution to do. It was either going to be that, or once again get third parties to do that, so then you could see the stuff in game. But the way they're doing it for offensive capabilities is really good, and I think now what would be a good idea is to kind of do it for defensive capabilities. But the problem with defensive capabilities is defensive capabilities are much more reliant on ping and also reliant on packet loss, which is why sometimes you will just have missiles appear and you won't be able to do anything about them. Or the other thing that happens is where a missile isn't actually where it is on your screen compared to the other person. So overall, it's a bit of a pain. And for me, that would be really cool to kind of sort out. I don't know how it would be done, but yeah, I think a simple video on how to dodge radar homing missiles. You know, basically just hug the ground. That works every single time. And then a video about specific missiles, you know, talking about their capabilities maybe, but also just general tactics against them. Because once again, if you make a video on, let's say, like an R-73, or if you make a tutorial on how to dodge an R-73, they could just change the missile in a month or so. Like, think about the R-60, right? The R60 has been through so many different iterations from when it was added into the game. It's a completely different missile, even compared to like a year ago. We were using the R3Ms and the R3Rs and the R3, not the R3Rs, the R23R and the R23T the other day with the MiG-23M. And I was getting super frustrated with using it. And there was a bunch of people saying, wait, no, this is not how this missile goes. And it's like, oh, well, they changed it last update and massively nerfed it. Which is why a bunch of people are like, oh no, this should work really well and you should do this and you should do this. And then when I tried to do it, it didn't work because the missile is not the same as what it used to be a few months ago. And that's the problem with War Thunder. So these tutorials need to be bang on, but they can't really because there's so many different factors that can completely change. But yeah, I think they should do some defensive ones. I don't know how they're going to do them, because, you know, one of the funny things with one of the tutorials, just to give you an example, was there was a tutorial for, I think it was the Demon, because you could test the AIM-7C, and in order to complete the tutorial, you had to obviously lock onto the plane, and then fire the AIM-7C and hit the plane. But when it first came out on the Demon couldn't hold the search lock on the plane. So you couldn't hit it with the missile, so you kept failing the tutorial over and over again. But it obviously wasn't, you know, you couldn't do anything about it. So you might get a lot of like instances like that, which would be quite funny. Hey Vanko Bamanko, nice to see you. Good luck, Big Bison. I'm sure you won't need it. I'm sure it'll go alright, so make sure everything goes well, man. Look after yourself. As always, rooting for you. Hopefully it goes good. So then we have Mick. Yeah, I'm doing good. But nice to see you, Mick. I was thinking recently what your opinion would be of adding an arrestor line to the ends of runways for jet BRs. They have these in real life for emergencies should an aircraft brakes fail. While not a huge impact on gameplay, since a lot of high-tier aircraft have parachutes, I thought it may give a use to the arrestor hook at all higher BR jets, that they have them, and also help stop you on the runway in those pesky scenarios where you land too late or overestimate the braking ability. Anyway, was just a thought I had whilst at work last night. Cheers and have a great day. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of airfields in real life which had, you know, obviously the wires across them, so you could catch them with the arrestor hook. It makes sense. You know, the ability is there in War Thunder. It doesn't affect anything. Why not? Like, just why not? I don't know. It's only an improvement. You know, I can't see how anybody would abuse it. I can't see how anything would go wrong with it. To me, it sounds great. So why not? Hey, Tested Ghost, nice to see you. I'm having to play Naval till I've got 4 million so I can finish this damn German air tree. What's your thoughts on the Abrams turret ring in the game currently? I feel the 120S is going to be doomed because of the current state of the Abrams turret ring. Well, survivability is not the strong suit of that 120S. The survivability comes from you shooting first, right? Like the vehicle with that turret and also with the mega round will be able to just deal with anything it faces. Like it's going to be a very tough one to balance, that one. Hey Tonksmon, nice to see you. I'm doing okay, just a bit tired. So yeah, as usual at high tier ground and a lot of tiers ground, don't shoot second because you'll just die. You know, the survivability of the 120S is awful, but the survivability of the standard Abrams is better, but still you're going to get knocked out pretty quickly anyway, because everyone just shoots for the breach, right? So it's just the same as what is there before, so I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. But yeah, arrestor hooks and arrestor cables, or whatever you want to call them, on airfields, great idea. Let's add it. Go crazy, you know? Woo. Sounds good to me. So then we have MJ. Hello, Tech. How's your week? Pretty good. You know, got some good workouts in. Been chucking in the kefir this week, just to try and sort out the balance inside. Get rid of some good old fungus or whatever is in there, or yeast that's good old built up. Trying to get some good old gut bacteria going, and it's been going well. It's just made me super gassy, so just turned into a gas giant right now, and also just feel super bloated. But yeah, that's just standard dev server stuff. I need to find a way of keeping up energy levels without eating food at a exorbitant amount. Because what I used to do is energy drinks, but I would do 2 energy drinks for the day, and I think I might go back to that. Just because eating the food definitely works, but afterwards, like today, I just feel greasy, I feel bloated, and I just feel like crap. So I think dealing with a little bit of pain afterwards, because what would happen with the energy drinks, since I work out quite a lot, and also I forget to drink water while doing the dev server stuff, it just means that my legs start cramping, which is quite fun. Like it was like when I used to play rugby a lot and train a lot. There'll be some nights where I would wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd just randomly wake up, right? And then like about a minute later, my right leg, it would happen quite a lot on, but it was both legs would just cramp, like my hamstrings would just cramp like hell. And I realized when I was doing like the energy drink stuff, that was also something that was happening while I was doing it. So always fun. Uh, Rain energy drinks are awesome. 300 milligrams of caffeine. Well, we used to do Beaver Buzz, and Beaver Buzz is fantastic. I love Beaver Buzz. And since I don't really have energy drinks ever, having them just like a one-off every few months was quite a good hit. But the interesting thing is I don't know where Beaver Buzz has gone. They were stocked all around here, but the buzz has been beaved. So yeah. You had similar in the army? Yeah, exactly, Sean. Like it's just overstress of the muscles and dehydration, right? So yeah, it's So I need to find a better way of doing it, and because obviously pulling 3 16-hour days in a row. When I was younger, I could do it pretty easily, but now that I'm actually getting a little bit older, and also at the same time we're increasing the quality of everything, which takes more time. I need to figure out a better way of kind of keeping the body going. It's weird to think about. It's really weird to think about that my PC used to be the bottleneck. And now that I've set up like the whole system, sorted out the 2K stuff, done everything like that, I am the bottleneck. Like it's so weird to think about. Like after like constantly improving like the computers, constantly improving the processing, constantly increasing like the resolution and making things look nice. Now I like the human me is the bottleneck, which is just like goddamn. So we need to improve the me. So yeah, we need to transition, need to put this brain in a different body, and then we can go. Hopefully everything's good, Matrix. By the way, the computers are running perfectly, They're fantastic, so thank you is the best thing I can say. Yeah, Tech 2.0. It's cyborg time. Hey Manuel, nice to see you. This weekend, both War Thunder esports streams lasted a combined total of 5 hours 45 minutes. There was a skin needed for 6. God, you really need to rethink this. Yeah, they do, because the length of the broadcast is based on how long the matches are, right? So if you have like a bunch of stomps, which I think the second match today was a stomp, and the first match nearly was a stomp, by the way. Like it was 3-0 and then they got it back to 3-2. So if that match had gone 4-0 and the first match and the second match would have been 4-0, then the stream would have only lasted like 2 hours. So yeah. Why is the YouTube comment blocking your HUD? Because we're doing a tech talk. Tech Talk's a podcast we do every week where we go through the comments on the previous one and have a chat about different stuff. It's been a really nice way of being able to, have a bunch of ideas looked at and also just have a bit of fun. It's been good. So we have MJ. Hello, Tech. Oh no, I already said how my week was. Do you think the AMX 13105... Oh, let's just do this real quick. There we go. Do you think the AMX 13105 will ever get added to the French tech tree, or do you think it would be redundant since a similar tank exists in the SK105A2? Maybe it can be added as an event vehicle / battle pass reward. The 13105 is quite different to the SK105. I would actually class the SK105 as kind of like the upgraded version, I suppose. I think it's more similar to the Char 25T, which is also in the tech tree, by the way. So it's not that different. But yeah, they'll add it. The thing I've been thinking about recently is why haven't they added it? Because the vehicle would be perfect for that part of the game. And yes, there's a lot of light tanks there for France already. Yeah, they have pretty much all of their lineups sorted out. But why haven't they thrown that in as well? It's an iconic vehicle. All of the assets are done. We have the 105, you have the AMX 13, you have the turret, you have everything. All you got to do is marry it together. And then I was like, well, who else has kind of used AMX 13s in the past? Because what could they be holding out on? And if you saw the leaks recently, there's a ton of Canadian vehicles in the leaks. So maybe there's going to be a Canadian subtree. That could easily be a thing. But one of the countries that at least dibbled around with AMX 13s and things like that were a bunch of European ones. And I don't know if any of them use the AMX 13105, but if I think about like the Cuirassier, it's from Austria. Didn't Switzerland use like some AMX 13s? And that kind of like led me along a path where I was like, interesting. So because whenever I think about so we have like a vehicle here, right? Or we have like a set of vehicles and they haven't been added to the game, but they're pretty iconic. Why haven't they been added, right? So that's my first thought. And usually it's because either, even though it's iconic, it doesn't really matter too much in the game. So like the B-26. The B-26 gets added. It doesn't make a huge difference. It's nice to see, but it's not like something that's huge, right? Vehicles that haven't been added, which are like this. The Manchester, right? The Manchester the XP, that ridiculous P-47 prototype. Stuff like the Lukes, right? The Panzer II Lukes or whatever it is. These types of vehicles they're cool vehicles and people know about them who are interested in this stuff, but also they're not ones which like move around the place at a decent click, right? So I take like that thought, right? And then go, okay, so they're either just going to be drip fed, or there's a reason why they're holding them back for other areas. And the AMX 13 is one of those, because the AMX 13 was like farmed out to like everybody, right? Like because the French made so much of them because it was a really good vehicle. So if that's like the thought, then the question has to be simple. If they're holding it back, who would they be holding it back for? And, maybe Switzerland, maybe the Netherlands, because the Netherlands use the AMX 13105. Maybe they're thinking of doing like a Dutch subtree. Maybe it could literally be Austria. An Austrian subtree somewhere, who knows? Maybe, I think it was farmed out to a bunch of Africans and also South Americans. But I don't know specifically if that was the 105. So these are like the types of things that like go through my head when it comes to, okay, why hasn't this vehicle been added yet? Number one, what impact would it have on the game? Number two, is that impact already being done by a separate vehicle? Number three, are there any other nations that they could add them to make them seem like unique and different from the standard, right? So though that's the thought pattern I go with. And so far it's worked. So because like you're seeing now with the Hungarians, right? All that stuff is not very unique. But they also did talk about they are going to add some unique stuff in the future, especially, at the lower echelons. And that would actually be nice to see. But it also kind of shows you the thought process of, what the tree's going to look like later on. Hey, Arch, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Why would I run the mini tiger at 5.7? It's pretty good at its own BR. I'll just play it there. Oops. So then we have TNG. I can't wait for the waifus in War Thunder. By the way, I played the Mafia remake and it's so fun. You should definitely give that a try. Plus, if you like the squad system, you should try Republic Commando. I played Republic Commando and I really do like it. I think it's a great game. And also, recently, did you see the news? First of all, I don't know if the offer's still going. Go to Steam, Space Crew Legendary Edition. It's literally free right now. It's completely free to own, so all you gotta do is pick it up, and you'll keep it in your library forever. If you like Bomber Crew, you like Space Crew. Space Crew is just the next iteration by the same company. So if you're a person who enjoys if you enjoy Bomber Crew, you'll enjoy Space Crew. It has all the customization, has all the different stuff, you'll love it. So make sure to pick it up. I'm pretty sure it's still free right now. It's specifically the Legendary Edition. So the Standard Edition isn't free, which is quite funny, but the actual Legendary one is. And I think it's because they have a game coming out soon, which is like a Mad Max version of it. Oh yeah, it's free until the 14th, so make sure to pick it up. Because I had a great time with that game. I did like a full playthrough, you can see it on the channel, and it's just really good, you know? Really, really nice at the end of the day. If you want to right now, you can literally pick up Bomber Crew, like Special Edition, with Space Crew Legendary Edition for like, what is it, $1 or something? I don't know. It's 90% off. So, yeah. What game's free until the 14th? Space Crew Legendary Edition. It's the sequel to Bomber Crew. And yeah, they're working on Badlands Crew. That's the one that's going on. So yeah, recently also I was playing 9-Bit Army. 9-Bit Army is really fun. If you're a fan of Supreme Commander, you'll love it. And it's also pretty cheap right now. It's in early access. One of the campaigns is out, the other one isn't. It does have multiplayer, it has like daily stuff as well. So yeah, if you're a fan of Supreme Commander, just play it. Like, you'll have a great time. And they do have 8-Bit Army as well, which was their previous game, so if you want to check that out, you can do too. But yeah, there's a bunch of really cool games which are around right now. There's a few which are a bit, you know, there's not a ton to them. Is Boat Crew fully out yet? No, I don't think so. I think it's still in early access. That was really fun. I had a great time with that one too. Supreme Commander, we played one of the campaigns recently. It's aged very well. Like, it's basically the same game. And it's really, really fun. I had a great time with Supreme Commander, and then Forged Alliance, and then Supreme Commander 2. I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that they dumbed down Supreme Commander 2, but I think it was still fine. You know, it was more like StarCraft instead of what Supreme Commander was, but I like StarCraft too, you know, and now recently we have like a ton of RTSs and stuff coming in, so I'm super happy to see that. Just because that to me is, you know, the main genre I enjoy, so it's really, really cool to see it make at least a little resurgence, you know, with stuff like Stormgate coming out, obviously 9-Bit and many others, so it should be good. Good old Signalis. We'll get to it eventually. Alright. Let's just try and get some ground units here. Trying to do this event at the same time as doing a tech talk isn't exactly the easiest thing, but we'll get it done. So we have Chieftain Mark 11. As mentioned in the title, what do you need? Well, it's time to butter up, Buttercup. I think is probably the way to go. Release the cheeks. Make sure to get some hot stuff. 'Cause I'm hot stuff, baby, to see me. Great song, that one. Then we have Armored Avocado, which seems kind of all over the place. Hello, Tech. Do you have any thoughts on a competitive rank game mode where there are, for instance, 7 ranks for each rank corresponds to in-game vehicle tiers? For example, rank 1 players can only use rank 1 vehicles, rank 2 can use rank 1 and 2 vehicles, and so forth. Additionally, rewards could increase with each rank, including premium time for vehicles. The players achieving the highest rank could even receive an exclusive vehicle or similar reward. However, one of the main changes I foresee is dealing with early game levers and balancing different nations. What are your thoughts on this potential issues? We already have a ranked mode in the game. And it basically works like that, apart from it cuts out the middleman. Because you know what happens with a system like that? Everybody just plays the same vehicle anyway. So in the ranked mode, they just give you the vehicles to play. So why not just do that? It already exists. They do like seasons of it, they do tournaments of it, you know. There's like tons of tournaments a week in War Thunder, like 30, 40 of them. So do we need something like that? No, not really. I don't think it's really required. You already have the basics of it in the game already, so why not just do the ranked mode and the tournaments? You save a bunch of hassle and a bunch of coding and a bunch of other stuff, and also it means that you don't have issues with queue times because you'll find out very quickly how many people are actually interested in a ranked mode and how many aren't. Because one of the big things, if you have a look at like other games or even just War Thunder in general, the actual competitive side of most games is incredibly small. There's a few games which are the opposite, but if you even have a look at like League of Legends, right? So League of Legends has or is one of the biggest esports in the world, but on the vast majority of servers, most of the people playing it are playing in unranked. They don't play in ranked. Like they don't play in the competitive mode. They actually play in the uncompetitive one. When I had a look at the stats for the NA server for League of Legends a few years ago, it was quite startling because, you know, as somebody who's followed stuff like the LCS and also the LEC, even before it was the LEC, I was kind of interested, like, why is the NA viewership kind of decreasing? Where is, like, kind of the hunger for the competitive side of it? But it just turns out that most people in the NA region don't really like competitive play. So you have to try and hook them in different stuff, and the way that you do that is through, like, personalities and things. So the amount of people who were watching is a percentage of the amount of people who are playing, and that percentage has decreased year on year on year. So this kind of push for more like competitive stuff in War Thunder, right now it's already there. You know, you have the ranked systems, you have the tournaments, you have the esports stuff, you have everything. I don't think there's a need for more of it because, you know, if you create a system that, you know, you've put forward, what would end up happening in a system like that is what you already just have in the rank mode. So it's just how it is. Like, I don't like the idea of splitting different queues, but yeah, I think overall it wouldn't be too good. Whatever you do, don't get the new Terminator RTS. It's actually terrible. There's a Terminator RTS. The only one I'm kind of interested in is that Starships one from last year, but it still hasn't really gone on sale, so I need it to go on sale. Because I don't want to pick it up at full price. Hey Sniper Air the One, nice to see you. I'm doing good. Well, ones which aren't out yet. So Broken Arrow, Men of War 2, anything they add to Gates of Hell, because that's always fun. And then also there's a few others that are there too, which, you know, I'm looking for. So it should be good. Yeah, pineapple should go on pizza. I like the idea of a dessert pizza. When we were at university, there was like a deal. I can't remember what it was, but it was like 2 or 3 slices of pizza for $5 from this like shop which we lived near. And since I had no money, it was perfect. So you'd get like a meat slice, and then you get like a pepperoni slice, and then you get like a ham and pineapple slice. So the ham and pineapple slice was kind of like the dessert piece. So it was always quite nice. So then we have low key. Is the Canberra A for America good? The B-57? No, it's not great. it's not in a great position right now. They added some weird stuff to it, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's in a wonderful area. Terminator Dark Fate Defiance is not just a game, it's an adrenaline-fueled journey. Oh dear. This looks like a very basic RTS. Even like the thumbnails and stuff like that kind of look standard. Weird. But yeah. I would say no. It's really not in a good place. There are plenty of better options than the B-57, and overall, there's a lot more American planes of that BR, which are just a lot more fun and do better jobs than it. They added like a bunch of different mods to it more recently, so I played it more recently to try and get it done, and it turns out it's really hard to play right now because you just get hunted. And we have Angry Rudolph. Hey TEC, hi. Do you think they'll ever add more historical skins to vehicles instead of just in loot boxes? Well, whenever they add vehicles, they usually, or they sometimes add in like a few G ones, or they sometimes, they sometimes have a few different camos that they add stuff, right? So, for example, a lot of the high tier planes have a lot of the camos, but the problem with the loot boxes is, you know, the same as always. They make more money than the standard thing, and it's why, you know, at least in War Thunder and many other products in the world, everybody's gone towards loot boxes instead of going towards just, you know, finite things. And if you do get finite things, they're outrageously expensive compared to what they really should be. Like DLCs and cosmetics and stuff like that have just gone through the roof. It's been pretty ridiculous at the end of the day how silly expensive stuff is. So yeah, it's just a simple fact nowadays that all that stuff is it's not really going to change. So you need to find a way of getting people to stop buying loot boxes, but you can't because people are dumb a lot of the time, and also there's too many people who are positively incentivized for pushing loot boxes, and because, you know, people like gambling for some reason. I've never really understood it, but c'est la vie. I find it really tough to watch sports nowadays because, like, even watching like the NFL over here, right? The even the halftime show is sponsored by a betting company, so they don't actually show you stats of the players. They just show you the odds of the players and what the odds are for them to do. So instead of talking about like say a running back, oh well, look at the stats that he's done over the last, you know, few games, and hopefully he can, if he's able to do this again, then, you know, his team will be in a very positive position, and you'll be able to push forward with it, which is great. It's like, yeah, that's awesome. But now it's like, his odds are 2 to 7 on him doing this. What do you think about these odds? And it's like, well, I don't know, if I'm honest with you, because that's just a betting line. Like that's not, you know, the stats of anything, which is just a little bit odd. But yeah, they should add a way to get specific skins on console that isn't rolling a loot box. They have the market on PC, so why not make it easier on console too? Well, the market is completely player controlled, so basically you would need a system on console where you could trade between each other, but you can't price fix, even though parts of the market are definitely price fixed. So it's just how it goes. So yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. It would be nice to see more camos be able to be unlocked. It would be nice to see more camos to be able to get got, but it won't happen because people won't stop spending money on loot boxes. And if you've been following War Thunder the last few years, that stuff is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it won't ever get to a point, I don't think, where you'll be able to RNG like a new vehicle. But they've just made it now if you want access to an old event vehicle, you either have to buy it off the market or you have to roll 1 million loot boxes. Like, you really got to ask yourself something, right? They made it super easy to get SL in this game now. And they labeled it as, because a lot of people were going on about how they were struggling for SL and this wasn't fair, and this was something that was needs to be fixed. You know, it's riot time. We got to riot and beat the system. I can't pay my repair costs. Well, now, like, you're flooded with SL, right? You're flooded with this stuff. And what has also happened? A massive increase in SL loot boxes. And then, after this, there'll be a massive increase in G loot boxes. There'll be more esports events, which will just have loot crates attached to them, and they'll be marketed towards you can get these things as, you know, Twitch drops, or they're part of this event, but the event, the way that you get it is actually by buying a loot box. And it's never going to stop, and it's just going to get worse. And they're just going to keep feeding you in these basic income areas, like SL, to be able to get you on hooked onto the idea of doing loot boxes. And then whenever people are going to bring in laws saying, oh, well, you're not allowed to do that, they're not going to remove the loot boxes. They're going to do the workaround that they did for the Europeans, or the European areas that banned them. They're just going to put a little link there which says, do you live in this area? And the person's going to be an addicted little dude. So, and they're going to click no. So the liability is not on them, it's actually on the consumer. Because the consumer's an idiot. But yeah, everything's just like that now. Like, it's the whole, like, mutually beneficial system. But the problem is, it's mutually beneficial for the business. But yeah, c'est la vie. It's what everything is now. Like, it's getting to a point now where I bet you any money, like, in the future, well, you kind of already have it in certain areas, but in order to, like, get a house or something, you're gonna have to roll a dice. And then they're gonna bump up the price of houses because, you know, there's gonna be way more demand because nobody wants to build the houses. Well, people do want to build the houses, but they don't want to build specific ones. So yeah, it's just a bit of a mess. But what you gonna do? We're already there in the Netherlands. Well, yeah, but I mean you don't roll a dice, right? Like, where I live, housing is crazy expensive, and there's a lot of restrictions on what you're able to build, and also there's a lot of people who already have stuff and they don't want anybody else to have anything. So yeah, they're really fun people. But you don't, like, you don't roll a dice to see who gets something, right? Like, what if you have that extra step too, which will eventually happen? Just sucks. Really sucks. And everybody just seems okay with it and can't connect dots. So we have Kitsune House. I don't have the time. Can anyone give me pointers on the major points regarding leaks, new vehicles, and femboys? No, because it's a podcast. Timestamps. That's why they're there. And we have Phil. Let's see. What's my opinion on dried churros? Not great for the gums. Very rough. You need to get on a list if you want to rent. You're waiting 10 plus years on that list. If you want to buy, it's almost rolling a dice. It's 10 plus years to rent from where? What tech tree should Canadian vehicles be in, and what other Canadian vehicles would you like to see? They should be in the British tree, because whole Commonwealth thing, yada yada yada. They also share a lot of commonality, right? So yeah, they should be in the British tree. The big thing about Britain, especially in the jet area, they have some very odd BRs, where you can see now they added the Gripen, right? To literally, they added the Gripen literally to try and help, like, the top tier of Britain, because, you know, they were stuck on Phantoms, for God's sake. But yeah, there's a lot of Canadian vehicles that would be great in the British tree. They could easily be a sub-tech tree, just like South Africa is. They already have some Canadian vehicles in the game, and You know, the ram tanks are always something to think about. The Sexton, the Grizzlies, stuff like, of course, the Canadian Leopards, the CF, CAF Hornets as well. But what's the other one? I can't remember its name. Is it the 101 that they built? The CF 101. It's the one that looks kind of cool. I just can't remember its name. The one they used before the current flock that they use now. So yeah, that could be nice to see. But yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. A lot of not indigenous stuff from the Second World War, but built in Canada stuff at least. And we even saw some, right? Like in the leak list, there's a bunch of weird stuff. The Ram Mark 1, which is just the Ram with the 2-pounder. You also have the you also have a few other vehicles, such as the SARC Mark 4F, which is a SARC which is built on a different truck body. The Canadian Leopard, of course, and all of those different things. But yeah, let's see. I think it's the CF 101, isn't it? Is it the Voodoo? No, that's just the F101. What's the one I'm thinking about? It was like it was a Canadian military plane. It looks really cool. I just can't remember what it is. Because it's not active anymore. It was retired ages ago. There's the CF-18. No, is it the Avon? It might be the Avon. That rings a bell. Well, the Voodoo is the CF-101. But no, it's basically a vehicle that only Canada used. I can't remember its name. It was used so much as well. God, that's bad. I should know that. What's the indigenous Canadian plane they used before the Hornet rocket? It looks really weird as a vehicle. No, not the Arrow. They never used the Arrow. Good old Arrow. They should add the Arrow though. But oh yeah, the Canuck. It's that one. The CF-100, yeah, that one. Like they could easily add that in the British tree. They should add the Arrow, but they should only add it in the configuration that it actually flew in. So not the ridiculous configuration that people wanted. That would be fun. They should also add the TSR2, but once again, the TSR2 that actually existed, not the ridiculous one. How would the Avro be balanced? Oh, easily. You just make it so when it takes off, it explodes. And then you get a letter saying, sorry, unfortunately this would have worked if it wasn't for those goddamn Americans and their superior lobbying and vehicles. How dare they be better than us? But yeah. Simple as. Nah, just give it the AIM-4s and be done with it. And just be like, fuck it, you know. You get 8 AIM-4s and you enjoy it. You don't get nothing else. But yeah, Canada should go to Britain. You know, it's as simple as that. They could add it to a different nation if they wanted to. You know, whatever nation they decide to add it to, it will be fine. There really isn't a bad nation to add them to, and hopefully, you know, we can just see more Canadian stuff, just like we can see more everybody else's stuff. Because more nations in the game, more more people see their own stuff, which is cool. More people have fun, and that to me is important. I want to live in a world where everybody's represented and everybody can be seen, and that is one of the ways to do it. Da-da-dee-da-da-da. There we go. I can't believe the British and Canadian aviation industries were destroyed by the US and through no fault of the Canadians or the Brits. I know, it's awful, isn't it? How dare they? How dare they make better vehicles? How dare they have better industries? How dare they not have a bunch of infighting? It sucks. How dare they be on the forefront of technology? I want Blackburn back. Where is Blackburn? That's what I'm asking. Funny enough, if you want a history of the British aviation industry, it's basically exactly the same as the British car industry, which is really interesting to see. Which is why, you know, whenever anybody brings up the whole, like, you know, the British industry was destroyed by America or whatever, you just have to look at the car industry, because you can't use that excuse. Then we have Elverman. You mentioned in another video that you don't like Volkolamsk. Why? 3 cap, Volkolamsk is my favourite. Got my first nuke there flanking around C with the JPZ, while completely drunk and running War Thunder on max graphics at 12 FPS. So Volkolamsk is like 2 maps. So you got the surroundings of Volkolamsk, and then you've got the other one, right? There's also other versions of Volkolamsk. So let's go through all the different versions of Volkolamsk and why I don't like any of them. First of all, surroundings of Volkolamsk. Way too big, and depending on what your graphics settings are, you can see through the whole map, because you can basically turn off a lot of the foliage and all of the other stuff that's there. So what ends up happening is whoever has the most mobile vehicles takes the caps, sits around them, and then you can't move. The other thing is the map itself is just a plane of white. And what's really bad about that is CAS elements. If you ever decide to move towards caps with tanks, or if you ever decide to try and be mobile at all, you first of all have to deal with the highly mobile people who have got in defensive positions first, on flat ground, and secondly, you have to deal with CAS. And the CAS will see you from miles away. And you won't be able to do anything about it. And it will suck. It will suck the life out of you trying to deal with it. So that is the biggest issue with surroundings of Volkolamsk. As somebody who's played it many different times, it is awful. And there's a reason why it's only stuck at the highest echelon, and also the moment the map rotation filter came in is the moment that it was removed, which should kind of give you an idea of how all this stuff goes. It is not a good map, it never will be, and thank God it's been relegated to the highest echelon because it's so bad. The other versions of Volkolamsk. So number 1, you have the church version. The church version of Volkolamsk has issues with the fact that you can just go around the side. And if you go around the side of Volkolamsk, right, what ends up happening is you can just go spawn camp, because both spawns have valleys on each side of them. So you can just sit on either side of the caps and just kill everything. So it's a map that incentivizes you to not go for the cap and just to go around the side. Has the same issues with CAS once again, where you just get, you know, donked. It's not very fun. So those are like the major issues that I have with those ones. The other one that you actually see more is not that bad of a map. You still have a problem with the spawns where it's very easy to camp them. But yeah, the most standard Volkolamsk that you see is definitely the best version of Volkolamsk. But that's like, you know, I don't know, getting a catheter shoved up you, like up your urethra, and one of them is slightly less wide as the last one. So it's still not in a good position, still not great, still hurts, and usually leads to unfortunate things happening, right? Evening, Jonathan, nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully everything's alright. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very easy to do really well on Volcalamsk because you just abuse the maps. If you are doing really well on Volcalamsk, which is good if you're doing well, maybe have a think about why that's the case. Is it because you personally are doing really well and you are outplaying people, or is it because the map is heavily abusable from certain areas? And then you'll get people who go, well, all maps are heavily abusable from certain areas, not as much as Volcalamsk. Like, it's as simple as that. So simple as. Then we have common sense. Just need to take some water. Oh my god. I've been doing a lot of talking the last few days, so my voice is nuked, which isn't too good. Hey TEC, I've been watching Masters of the Air, and I thought of how cool would it be for the famous upgunned old 666 B-17 as an the B-17 as an event vehicle. Yeah, we've been watching Masters of the Air too. It's been really fun. I've enjoyed it quite a lot actually. Nice to see Spielberg and Hanks back for another one. Hopefully they make a ton more. Not sure they will, but you know. The story behind that plane and crew is absolutely bonkers. It will be certainly a unique vehicle. Let's just do this. It would certainly be a unique vehicle, which is what people want out of event vehicles. Depends who you ask. And even kind of have its own meta in the game, where fighter pilots will be more on the edge going after B-17s, not knowing if it's the old 666 until they got close. I was actually thinking about that the other day and how annoying that is. Because there's a ton of different vehicles that have... so I was playing a lot of the Jaguar GR1 and also the F-16 and the FAE. So we spaded the Jaguar GR1 and the FAE, and I've been working on the F-16 more recently. And when you see MiG-21 on the screen, especially in the Jaguar GR1, you have no idea what MiG-21 you're going up against. Like, is it one with countermeasures? Is it one with R60s? Is it one with the upgraded engine? Is it, is it the one with better radar? Like, what is it? And it's kind of annoying. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of is annoying to deal with. It would be nice if you could see like what they were a little bit further from you, because we're getting to a point now where they're adding so many different versions of these vehicles, and for example now for the MiG-21, you got the Soviet ones, you got the German ones, you got the Russian ones, and you'll probably have different ones as well. You got the Finnish ones. So it's more like, okay, so what flag does this thing have? And now what variants are under that flag and which variant is it in the BR range? That's a lot to go through your head in like a few seconds to work out. Well, yeah, technically the Chinese ones too, right? Like the J7. So like it's a lot of information you got to process. And whether you fire a missile or not, at the target is quite rough. Personally, I'd like to see event vehicles and even premiums focus on some real-life famous legendary ones, or even an option to grind out the legendary camo if it gets too copy-paste for the War Thunder community. There's a few in-game already, and certainly room for more. That's all for today, and cheers, mate. Cheers to you too. Yeah, I agree. Like, I liked the what was it called? There was an event that they were planning to do back in the day where it basically morphed into the Pages of History event. But it was called something Letters or War Stories. War Stories. That's what it was. And War Stories was the idea that you would follow kind of a historical, in a way, campaign. It's not really a campaign, but you would follow like a historical set of acts that would go on, and what you would end up doing is, if you completed them all, then you would get yourself like a special camo, or you get yourself like a special vehicle. And it never happened, the event. They planned it out, they did the news articles, they did everything, and the first one was going to be like some kind of controversial Chinese one, which wasn't really controversial, and they ended up not doing the event because of technical difficulties. So they couldn't work out, I'm guessing, what was the issue with it. It would be nice to talk to a dev from back then to work out why they didn't kind of go through with it, because, you know, it's quite a big thing. So, good evening, El Diableroso. Nice to see you. And what I would like to do is I'd like to take that idea that they had and morph it. So, you got the crafting event system. You got all that bloat that just isn't going to be used anymore because they removed the crafting events because they were crap. But the actual system of putting stuff together, pretty cool, you know? Why not have every Warbond shop, or maybe just randomly in the game, a blueprint system where you can, you know, purchase a blueprint or grind out a blueprint. When you get the blueprint, it opens up a set of challenges you have to do, which, you know, it could be linked to the vehicle that you're grinding out. And then when you do all those challenges, you get the parts, you put them together in the workshop, and hey presto, it's the vehicle, right? Why not have something like that? Like, why not? Why not with something like the 666? Or why not, for example, why not, like, from the Dam Busters raid? Why not have a special plane from there? What if it was like a Mosquito or a Lancaster, one of them which was used in one of those kind of crazy raids, where they either, you know, attacked the Ruhr River and stuff like that? Why not have things like that? You know? And have it so, okay, so if you complete these sets of missions, you unlock these parts, you put them together. And they don't even have to be unique vehicles. They could just be camos, right? So, oh, you want this historical camo for this? Oh, we'll just do this event. And you could do it like that. It would be perfect. It's a system that's just begging to be used. You know, the only issue is monetization, and you could do that through the blueprint itself, where you have to purchase the blueprint. You could use it as a little DLC/expansion. Or you could, you know, grind it out in some way, which would be ludicrously hard to do, but you could still do it. Sounds good to me. And yeah, as long as you're not... You could even do, like, copies of Tech Tree vehicles, kind of like how they used to do Twitch drops, right? So stuff like the TD things, like the Chiha Kai TD and stuff like that. Like, why not? Why not do stuff like that? No reason not to, but obviously there is a lot of stuff going on right now in War Thunder, so something like that may come in the pipeline later on, who knows. Reusing old systems in different ways is a perfect way of saving money, and also at the same time, just, you know, being able to give stuff a new coat of paint. So why not sort that out? So we have cinnamon bread bun. Hey Tech, good to see you still doing great. Yeah, life's good. You know, I wish that I was having a little bit more what's the word? I wish I was having a little bit more sleep, but that'll come next week. Like, that'll be fine. Let's say you're rubbing one out under the table. How would I be rubbing one out and playing the game at the same time? I know people joke about a third arm, but like, how are we doing that? If I'm gonna rub one out under the table, I'm not gonna do it on stream, am I? But how do you think they'll introduce big ships such as the Tirpitz, the Bismarck, Musashi, and Yamato, etc., or the iconic naval ships from World War II into the game? Not just World War II ships, but also the Russian blueprint ships and the other nations' paper ships. Because from what they've said before, they don't like adding battleships into the game. Seeing as naval is also a source of their revenue, I'm curious to see what's your take on the things they might take in regard to this. Well, we already said they already said that well, we know those vehicles are ready, right? Like we know like all those vehicles, well maybe not all of them, but some of them are ready to go. And they've literally in this last dev server, we have the one of the big ones. What is it called? The Musashi. It's the Nagato class, like the one with the big old 16-inch guns. So they're just gonna add them in constant increments, and as they add them in constant increments, they'll add a new rank to each thing, and then it's not the Musashi. I don't think it's another one. As they add them in constant increments, then what they're going to do is they're just going to sell premiums. The Mutsu, yeah, or whatever it is. The Mutsu. So they'll do those first, and then what they'll do is they'll add a new rank, and then with the new rank, they'll add a bunch of pre-orders, and then since, you know, especially a lot of the battleship classes, they have some sister ships in them. One will be premium, and one won't be. That'll be it. You know, just like how they've done pretty much everything else. Because why wouldn't you? You know, what's worked in the past will work in the future. What was kind of interesting with the new set of ranks that they did for naval for Blue Water, they brought in a lot of battleships, which were actually kind of the previous generation of battleships. So what you're seeing now with the expansion of, was it rank 5 or 6, whichever one it is, what they're going to do is they might just add in those sister ships as the premiums as they bring in the new ones. You know, there's no reason for them to change what they've been doing. You know, we can only speculate on if they are making money on these things or not. At the same time, you know, as we've said, it's all speculation. If they see it as a lost leader, you're never going to know about it. And also at the same time, the other thing to note about it is we don't know the amount of money that goes into making these things. So yeah, it's very hard to tell with these things what's kind of happening, or, you know, what the thought process is. Because at the end of the day, we're just never going to know. And that sucks. Maybe in the future they'll chat about it, but I highly doubt it. It's kind of bad business to talk about those things, because it makes sure it helps with the consumer part. So the consumer now knows more about what's going on. But also it means that your competitors also know all the stuff that's going on too, which you don't want them to know. So, yeah, not great. So, not going to work too well, that one. Let's just kill these. So yeah, they'll just do a standard tech tree and then a premium one in time. And then they'll do an event, and then they'll do an event which goes through it too. And then, yeah, c'est la vie. There's no reason for them to change anything. Like, how do you think they would market them? What could they do? Could they do collaborations? I mean, maybe. Who knows? I don't know how useful collaborations are when it comes to these things. Hey, Salsalator, nice to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing good. You're building a 1/350th scale Musashi. A bit too much photo etching. I wish I had the hands for that, man. But these hands are not built for tiny little things like that. So then we have Shikamaru. Japan is very rough in ground and coastal, very slow boats. I hope we get more here. Korea, or even a completely different country. I've been thinking about this, because obviously, you're alive? Well, that's fantastic, you know. It's better to be a Hundi. Nice to hear. But the simple thing is, you know, we've talked about them adding South Korea to the Japanese tech tree and North Korea to the Chinese tech tree. Screw it, just swap them around. Add North Korea to Japan and add South Korea to China. Why? Because why not? You know, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? But no, I don't think Japan ground's that bad. They have some very powerful lineups. They're not the easiest nation to grind through, but there are definitely some pretty good ones. Their coastal is pretty rough though. They over the years, I was reminiscing today because while looking at the leak list, there is a Japanese kind of like coastal vehicle there. Let's see if I can find it again. It was one that was actually given to the Chinese after the war, as kind of a war reparations thing, because Japan did some pretty rough stuff to good old good old China. Let's see, what was it? The vehicle was the Shisaka. That's it, the Shisaka. So it was a Hiburi class escort ship, and it's incredibly similar to the Sionen that we have in the game already. And I was thinking about before how the Sionen, it had like its time in the sun where it was just unkillable and also killed everything, because for some reason those 25mm it had did way too much damage. So for like a solid few updates, that and like the M802 were just busted. Like you couldn't do anything against them, which was crazy. So I think overall though, going into the future, there are plenty of things that Japan can get, and at least with their blue water, you know, obviously Gaijin has made a pretty decent effort to add a bunch of stuff to their naval. Like, you know, the fact that they have what, like 5 7.0s now is pretty nuts. Just in the grand scheme of things, if you look at a bunch of other nations, they keep being like, you know, the firsts to get things in naval as well, like the first to get 16 inches, the first to get, you know, certain battleships and stuff. So I won't be too worried. The future of Japan looks bright. Now all you gotta do is increase that birth rate, baby. Go on, get dicking. Let's have a bit of fun. If there's no Japanese War Thunder players, there will be no Japan. DMM will die. Very sad. Time to put down the stress and pick up the spank bank. So then we have TT Flap. Let's see. Hey TEC, hope all is well. Alive and kicking is probably the way to put it. I feel good. Like, I'm not really worried about anything. Everything feels pretty good. Like, as usual during dev server stuff, just a few aches and pains here and there, but nothing too bad. I'm grinding the French ground tree after the air tree. I'm having quite a bit of fun at 6-7. My lineup is the M4, F4U, AD4, AMX13 and AMX10P. It's a solid lineup. Right now, but I recently saw a video that didn't really make me excited for top tier. I was just wondering what your thoughts on the top tier lineup for France were. Also, your videos were amazing to listen to while playing War Thunder. Oh, that's all good. Yeah, top tier France is in a bit of an odd space. It used to be really good, because the Leclerc was incredibly good. The Ito is also used to be very good. But the problem is they never really went anywhere from there, right? So they got some new rounds on the Leclercs, but that's about it. The Leclercs are fine, you know, they work fine. There's no problems with them. They don't really have the support apparatus around them. The big issue for France for the longest time was they had a huge gap between like 8.3 to 11.0. So you just didn't have anything there. They have definitely improved that, which is good. And also at the same time, there is some very powerful lineups at high tier. But at top tier, they have minor nation syndrome. They just don't have as many elements as others to do well at. Now, they have improved. They have more aviation stuff now. They have more helicopter stuff now. They have more options and should be a decent nation. But at the same time, they're not the best MBTs, and also they're not going to, they're not going to take over battles as what they used to do. So I wouldn't be discouraged from it, because if you're at 6-7 right now, 6-7 to like 9-0 is really fun for France, and even slightly above there is pretty fun with like the AMX 32 and the AMX, is it 32-105? Both of them are really fun. But as you get into those like higher echelons over the top, you're kind of going to be screwed, right? So, yeah. But by the time you get there, maybe they've added a bunch of stuff to right that balance. There are plenty of subtrees and stuff like that France could get, plenty of vehicles and things, so I'm sure we'll see something similar. Hopefully we see a lot. Then we have Bomber Boys. We need some of the funky Romanian tanks that, like the one mod of the French, I think the H-35. One of the light tanks that got removed, they upped the main gun caliber. And if you believed it, killed a King Tiger. I don't believe that at all. All the bunch of crazy mods Germany did to France's tanks after they surrendered. Weren't Romania on the Axis side? Or am I thinking wrong? I know Hungary were. I'd have to look into it, I can't remember. So how the hell did one of their vehicles kill a King Tiger if they're on the German side? But yeah, I mean we have the upgunned French tank in the French tech tree. Because you've got the SA-18 and I think it's like the SA-38 or something. The 18 was the one that was removed because it couldn't pen anything. So yeah. But no, they're just like most nations, like Romania will come into the game at a Romania will come into the game at some point, like in the form of a subtree, just like Hungary did. They'll have very similar vehicles to what Hungary has, and overall it'll have a good time. Like there's nothing that indicates that it won't come in. Like, what would be the reason to keep them out? Like, surely there isn't one. So yeah, simple as that. Yeah, Romania has a couple of premiums, and if you have a look at the Italian tree, they have this one's Hungarian, right? The Terrans are Hungarian, but I'm pretty sure maybe the German tech tree is where they're at. Like there is some Romanian stuff somewhere. I just can't remember where. Maybe in the aviation side of things. This is the Romanian flag, isn't it? The IAR-81C. Kind of a weird flag. So yeah, like they will get more stuff in. This one was actually a user-created vehicle, by the way, which is why I think it got into the game, which is quite cool. But yeah, so they're gonna get added, but I wouldn't like. Let's be honest, the Hungary stuff that we see in the game is gonna be very reminiscent of what we see from the Romanian side of things. So like. Don't hold your hopes high. Then we have OCS. Hey TEC, my belief about War Thunder is that it tries to be a historical military game, but sometimes I feel that this concept impacts the content potential for this game. For example, we know there's a tank out there somewhere with DU inserts, but Gaijin refuses to add it because there's no credible evidence for it. But having said that, most numbers are made up in War Thunder anyway, especially for modern vehicles as real data is classified, such as the material composition of Chinese tank armor, and also every other MBT. How would you feel if the SNL went for a more balanced and content-filled approach opposed to historical accuracy? Historical accuracy has always been false in War Thunder, like from day one. Like what they do is they try and model the physical characteristics of the vehicle as much as possible, and then where there is data, they try and match it as close as possible to what is available, right? So a lot of the flight models are pretty good, but even in the mode that I'm in here, realistic, I'm not using full real controls. I'm not using a lot of the different factors that would make it more realistic, right? So there is always a balance to these things, and the balance will always be in favor of gameplay. Put it like this. If I can find a historical justification why a specific vehicle shouldn't get DU inserts, but also out there is either a prototype vehicle or a concept vehicle which is similar to it that did get DU inserts, you know what I do? I add them both. So I have the standard one, and then I write an article which is talking about the fact that these other ones exist. And then I build the new one, which is basically a direct copy of the other one with DU inserts. And I go, hey, we've listened to your feedback. Thank you for letting us know your thoughts about this. Here is what you want. So now you have double the amount of content, and also you've stuck to historical accuracy. Right? So the way that they are doing things is that approach. Right? It's just, not seen like that. Because there's this weird belief that you need the same vehicle to have all the same stats, when you could just build two vehicles which are slightly different. And if you've noticed at top tier, especially when it comes to MBTs, what they do is each MBT has its own package on it. So even though most of these vehicles, what you could do with them is you could just straight up take one of them and then just add a bunch of modifications to it, and those modifications would have like the add-on armor, or they would have the add-on bits. They don't do that. They make the Challenger 2, then they make the Challenger 2F, then they make the Challenger 2 TES, then they make the Challenger 2 OES. There's 4 vehicles that they've created, so therefore 4 pieces of content over nearly a year of updates, which all amount to the same tank. So with the Abrams, they're just going to do the same thing. And I don't know why nobody noticed that. Instead, everybody just got annoyed, and I don't know why. But that's what they've always done. They make a decision, they find the historical stuff around it. Like, right, okay, so how do you implement a vehicle in War Thunder? Okay, so let's go through the steps. Number 1, okay? You look for the vehicle. So you find a vehicle that might be interesting for people to play. Okay? Then you do the research on the vehicle. You can't do the research on the vehicle before you know the vehicle exists. So you're at the first stage, and then you're at the data collection stage. So you already have an idea what you want this vehicle to look like and how you want it balanced in the game. You get the historical data. This may lead you to many different things. This may lead you to completely changing what the vehicle is, depending on when it's from, if you want to historically model it, or what it could lead to in terms of like modern equipment, which is mostly what happens, is it leads you to a fact that it gives you wiggle room, right? It gives you a lot of wiggle room to be able to build the vehicle that you want, because you can't find the specific stats that you want. This also means that you can create 2 sample sizes. You can create one, which is the vehicle in this configuration like this, and then you can build a vehicle in this configuration like that. So now, instead of 1 vehicle, you now have 2 vehicles, right? From both sides. And then if you have even more factors that you're unsure about, whether it be the engine, so the VT4 for example, there's like 10 variants of that damn thing if you want. Different optics, different engine, technically different rounds. All of that matches up, right? And now you can have a bunch of different ones, which are basically the same vehicle, with slightly different characteristics. And that's what top tier is. Has been forever. But people just don't see it, and I don't know why. You know? So they're already doing what you're saying, what you're asking for. They're just not plonking it all on one vehicle. So, simple as. There'll be like a DU Abrams in the next few years. It'll be called like M1P. Or M1A1P. Or something like that. It'll be exactly the same as the standard one, but it'll just have your DU inserts. Right? And then they'll add one with a spore liner. And then they'll add one with, I don't know, a bigger gun. Like with the thumper, right? If you think about it, they make changes to top tier based on balance. So in the same way they balance BRs. So maybe if the Abrams actually had a low win rate and stats as people say it does, then they would make changes to it. Yeah, which is what they did. They lowered its reload, right? So now it has a 5-second reload. Which is kind of crazy. So then we have the only line. Let's see what they say. Hey Tech, hope you're doing well. You too, man. I'm not having a great time. We're doing rebinds back and forth between War Thunder's control and my Steam Deck binds. Probably my 8th or 9th time doing this. Thankfully though, I can save the presets in both War Thunder and the deck, because in the past it used to reset my stuff. God damn. Yeah, I've heard stuff like that happen. I've had my controls only reset once. No idea what causes it, by the way. Like, it just seems to be random. Anyways, reach 1.5k hours in War Thunder. Trackpad gaming for the win. Finished all the ground French tree. Nice, well done. Good stuff. You should reward yourself with a mouse. I'm going to do a backstory of some interesting stuff, like how I came into War Thunder 3k hours in a certain mobile game. Why I like tanks and mainly French tank ones, etc, etc. But that's another comment for another tech talk. As always, have a lovely weekend and hi chat. You too. Have a great time. You know what you could do? You could do snippets each time. So each tech talk you can give a different fact of how you ended up being a War Thunderer. I don't think I've ever... Well, I've talked about like why I started playing War Thunder, but I've never really talked about like why I'm so interested in Second World War stuff, or at least in a decent way. Eventually stealth aircraft will be added. How will this be simulated in War Thunder, or will it not at all? I mean, it probably just won't appear as much on radars, right? So you'll see it physically, but you just won't see it as much on the radar. That's why I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen ECM stuff yet. Yeah, you should always back up your controls, by the way. Have it on like a USB stick or, you know, just somewhere. Because you will lose it. And no fault of your own, it'll just disappear. It'll be yanked from you. Why? No idea. Just sometimes happens. Not very fun. Obviously resetting controls is not exactly one of the favorite things to do. But as I've found out many times, every time that they update Windows and it breaks all my video and audio stuff, it's something that has to be done, you know? Hey Hunter Shark, nice to see you. Got all drops today and I watched both streams, all of it. Barely got all the drops. You got the Abrams drop? I was stuck on like maybe 4.5 hours. Because yesterday I had an hour that didn't count. But I got the F-15 skin, so that's all that really matters. All the other ones I already had. But yeah, it would have been nice to get them, but c'est la vie. What you gonna do? There we go. Then we have Islam Zayod. I'm having problems playing the Swedish J34. I think I'm losing my mind. Any tips? Do you think early jets are playable? Many early jets are playable, but the J34 isn't. Because it suffers what is called the Hunter problem, which is You are too good against other subsonic jets, but you are completely worthless against supersonic jets. I was recently playing the Hunter F1 and will be continuing to play it to kind of give it a go. But yeah, it's awful. It feels terrible because everybody is faster than you and your weaponry is okay, but you can't ever really get it on target. So yeah. 9.0, 9.3, if you're not a supersonic vehicle, is like pulling teeth, and it sucks. It really does. And since the J-34 has the missiles on it, I believe, it means that it's a higher BR than it should be. So, yeah, it's just awful. There isn't a single hunter in the game that has been in a positive position, apart from like a month when the F1 was launched, when it was the best vehicle in the game. But it got quickly overtaken, as a lot of vehicles do. So yeah, I would probably give that one a miss and just play something else. But a lot of early jets are playable. It's just when you're in that 9.0 to 10.0 area, and you don't have a lot of speed, and you don't have a crazy good armament, you're really going to struggle. I have speeded many F100s, and they're very fun, especially right now at 9.3. So we have Florek. Hi Tech, did you play Death Stranding? Did you see the trailers for Death Stranding 2? I saw the trailers for Death Stranding 2, and I watched some of Death Stranding. With Kojima games, they take quite a long time, and as a person who doesn't have a ton of time, doesn't really work out too well for me. So that's a bit of a problem. The major thing about good old Kojima and friends is I think the way I'll class it as is ambiguous storytelling. So I have a real problem with open-ended endings. And it's mainly just the fact that I like closed stories. It's why I really, really detest I really, really detest cosmic horrors. Because the whole point of it, at least to start with, and even now, is you don't know what's causing it and you don't know what's happening, but you're supposed to just experience what you see and that's it. And you're supposed to come up with your own kind of thoughts and theories about it, right? But for me, I don't find that interesting because I don't engage like the imaginative part of my brain when it comes to that stuff. For me, I don't go to watch a piece of media or read a piece of media to be able to like draw my own conclusions from it. I go to it to be entertained. And if I want to draw my own conclusion from something, usually I do that through, university stuff or studies or just general like academia like side of things, right? So going into games like Death Stranding or going into movies which is similar to it, I really struggle because a lot of it's not designed to facilitate what I like from media, and that's fine. Same with like a lot of like the Metal Gear Solid stuff, all of that. I do find the whole thing a nice spectacle. I think Kojima is very good at what he does. I think he should make movies, just like how the guy who used to make stuff like Heavy Rain and the Ellen Page video game and stuff like that. I think they should just go make some movies and have a bit of fun with it. Because I understand you can tell a lot more stuff in games, but at the same time, if the gameplay isn't up there, then it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it seems kind of interesting. The visuals overall look kind of cool. The story, I'm just not that interested in at all, because I know exactly what's going to happen, like with the general themes of it, and that doesn't really excite me because I know it's going to be open-ended. I know there's going to be constant questions and video essays about it and what people think of it, because that's how you keep people talking about these things. I'm just not that interested. It's just how it goes. So yeah, I'm sure I'll know people who'll play it, just like the first game. I'll just sit by and maybe watch some of the cutscenes and, you know, see stuff like that and have a good time with it. But yeah, it's not really what my brain's kind of designed for that. It's not what I'm looking to get out of media at the end of the day. Alright, so the next one is 2B Parastol. Bro, I'm the only one who feeds my dog and gets some treats and goes for walks, and he loves my little brother way more than me. He will not leave his side, and all he does is ignore him 90% of the time. I love my bro and love my dog. I just want this guy to know that's not true. Well, dogs don't necessarily like sit or be near something because they like it more than others. Oh, by the way, just as a funny thing, so I got another special offer. A year of premium account, 30% off, plus a premium booster. And I have like 522 days of premium account. So it's a pretty raw deal. What a deal, yeah. But yeah, it isn't necessarily that the dog prefers the other person. It might be because the dog feels that it needs to defend that person more, or maybe it sees that person as weaker, right? So therefore, you are more okay by yourself, whereas they need a bit of help. Like dogs don't just, you know, they're not like a magnet. You know, they don't just sit around and do stuff like that. They might see you. The dog might see you as a functional human being and see your brother as not one. You know, it's like simple as that. Like the reason why AJ probably, you know, sits near the missus more is because first of all the missus is a lot smaller than me, and also there's a gate in the way, so he can't sit in here. But you know, he enjoys, you know, both of us at the end of the day, and he's a very protective dog, so he just protects the missus. It's as simple as that, and I prefer it like that because you know, I'm like 2.5 times her size, so you know, I need a lot less protection than she does, so it works very well. You know, I think they've just given up on giving you a vehicle. Yeah, it's kind of silly. It's just gone. Right, there we go. We have Type 10, TEC, got the 2 of the body pillows, a fine addition to my collection. Yeah, there'll be 10 eventually. ZTS 63 is such a wonky vehicle. Working on the Chinese air tree, it seems alright. That's all. Have a nice day. You too. Yeah, the Chinese tech tree is fine. It's just if you've played other tech trees, it's kind of dull, right? Like there's not a lot to it. Is probably the way to put it until you get to like the higher echelons, and it kind of has the Israeli issue where a lot of vehicles that it got from other nations were kind of the ones that nation didn't want to use at the time. So yeah, it's sometimes it works out because you know you don't have to go by year, you can go by BRs, that's fine. But sometimes you just get crucified. So you end up. I'm really sick of getting this Corsun and the Ladoga map, by the way. You end up in a situation where you just get battered because you're just in a weaker vehicle. So the dog is trying to say that your brother is a skill issue. Yeah, why not? So then we have Rainbow Man. Hi Tech, hope you're having a wonderful day. Yeah, I'm doing alright. I want to talk about something that I'd like maybe some other players to see in War Thunder. As we all know, we already have a subtree for ground, air, and helicopters, technically with the addition of the Hungarian helicopters. Yeah. Yeah, they, yeah, a lot of Soviet stuff for Italy. But it, you know, technically worked out. Bolsters the line, which is what you want to see. Sorry, I just got to do this run here. Do-do-do-do-do-do. It's a problem with having an event at the same time as a dev server. I gotta maximize to prioritize. Right. What I'd like to see, hopefully, this year is a subtree for naval. For example, the Dutch Navy for France. Something that would boost the French Navy. Boost the French Navy, even though they already have a lot of fun ships. And play, in my opinion, and hopefully to attract more players to the naval. Yeah, they could do that. Like, I mean, you know, the interesting thing about naval is there is already a Dutch ship in the game, I think. But yeah, they could definitely add more. The Dutch Navy was quite large, had a lot of stuff in it, so don't see why not. They could definitely add a bunch of different things to it. So why not? Well, there's Australian ships in the game, and there's Kiwi ships, Polish ships, Dutch ships. Like I don't know if it has to be a subtree, but you know they can add them in. The K2, the Kanonenboot. Isn't that Dutch? I'm pretty sure it is. The Kanonenboot. It was commandeered by the Germans in the Second World War. Right, there's the special. Like, I think it's in the Coastal Fleet. Oh no, is it? Or is it early Blue Water? Yeah, this one. So, this vehicle, the K2, it served under Germany, but it was built by the Dutch and commandeered in the Second World War, which is quite fun. Dune 2? I haven't watched it, Matrix, but I want to. I haven't had time, unfortunately. Was it good? I want to watch the first one again before I watch the second one again. Right, there's that done. Let's get a new special task. We're nearly at 20 now. So yeah, they could definitely add more Dutch stuff. There's no reason why it couldn't turn up. Next weekend for you? That should be fun. But yeah, why not? You know, I'd all be down for that. Then we have Furvi femboys. Yes, they're everywhere, all over the place. The real question you have to ask yourself is why. And it's one of two things. Either they're massively overrepresented in media, which is usually what happens with minorities, or what is happening is there's just a lot of really lonely dudes who can't get out of the house to do things. One or the other. Don't know. Might be a fantasy thing, as I said. Might be going back to Greek times, who knows. So then we have Fossey Canada. Howdy. There are got a few topics this time. I like that. First, always wondering, and now after you've seen the game director also play Air Realistic, Ground Realistic, Naval AB, I don't really get why you guys don't play Naval Realistic. Personally, like Naval Realistic way more than AB, but prefer AB in Air and Ground. Time, basically. So, for me personally, when it comes to like naval, I like the extra speed, and also the torpedo reloads. Those are basically the two things. The extra speed of the vehicles means that you're a lot less susceptible to bombers, and also it's much easier to reposition. And I like having that extra tactical factor in a lot of machines. And since I generally prefer smaller machines or destroyers instead of like cruisers and battleships and stuff, torpedoes are quite a large part of the gameplay. So yeah, it's basically just those two options. Like, you know, the aiming system don't really bother me. You know, it don't really matter how that is. But yeah, it's literally the speed and acceleration and deceleration buff and torpedo reload. Second, any tips on what we're actually supposed to be doing with new jets or high to prevent aircraft? that you get with absolutely nothing on it other than your almighty 200 shots of the stock gun. I've been playing a lot of the previous event vehicles for this event to maybe get it done a bit faster, but holy man is it awful flying around in these things when you got no single upgrade or any rockets or some bombs to get at least a bit of RP each game. Yeah, it's awful. It's really bad, and it's something I've been talking about for a long time, where what ends up happening is people grind out an event vehicle, and then what they end up getting is a vehicle which is just nowhere near the level that is kind of shown, because then you have to stop grind it. I wish they would stop doing event vehicles like that. Luckily, they've kind of realized that. So with the Jaguar IS event, if you do one of the marks of distinction, you actually get some of the modifications for the Jaguar. So at least they're doing that. But yeah, there really isn't a lot to do until you get those bombs, and even then it's really rough, right? Because you're slower than everything else. And usually, because they're CAS aircraft, you're put into a position in the game where you just get targeted. So it's just crap. It really is. It's an awful situation. The only place you can really play is like Sim, and to try and grind them out. And even then, that's not perfect. You know, there are much better options to do stuff than that. But yeah, that's really your only hope. And I agree, it sucks. You know, I've been chatting about it for years. It's been a problem for years. Nobody has really talked about it. You know, it's why, for me, you know, the series that I do when it comes to vehicle reviews, it's why I stock grind a lot of vehicles, because their feeling or their play from stock to mid to low to spaded is incredibly different. So yeah, simple as that. It's just not good. And I wish there was a way that they could, you know, fix it or help it. And it seems like with the Jaguar IS event, that's what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to give people not a stock vehicle. The way to actually do it is to, you know, bring back mid-tier premiums. So you don't have to stock grind the vehicle. But c'est la vie. Instead, they're opting for these high-tier event vehicles, which sucks. I wish it wasn't the case, but, you know, been here really long. Third, in your vid about the game director, you kind of said you'd wish there wouldn't be so many leaks of what's coming, but kind of weird that as soon as there is new leaks, you make a vid and thank those guys for the great work on the leaks. Couldn't you just not look at the leaks if you want to be surprised? No, I can't. So why is that? 2 years ago, I made videos talking about some of the leaks and how annoyed I was about the fact that everything was basically being leaked before it came out. I found it really frustrating. And, you know, there was a bunch of people who basically said, why are you annoyed? Why just make videos about it because we want to see the stuff? And from that point on, I was like, fine. I'll just do that then. But the major thing is, since, you know, I stream, since I am part of, like, the community, the moment these things appear, I get told about them. Like, there will be people who just turn up and go, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Have you seen that? Have you seen that? And if I just turn around and go, no, I don't want to see it, they'll just tell me anyway. So, like, there isn't a way I can get away from it. Because they want to share the information with you. Because they want you to know that they know. And it's a really annoying human psychological thing. So it isn't like the information is already known by me before, obviously, I make the videos. But yeah. So even if I didn't make videos, even if I didn't talk about them in the videos, I would be told them anyway, against my will. I would have to stop, I would have to, like, remove myself from the community. Which you can't do if, you know, you make content around it. Like, it's as simple as that. The other part of it is the thanking thing. The people that I thank is the data miners. So people like Chabby or Zabby, people like Kashida. Those guys don't leak stuff. They are just kind of data collectors. So Zabi actually has a website where he shows all of the changes, of the different setups. It's a really good one. It's gszABI99.github.io. And if you want to ever know anything about the game or what's coming, that is, the place to be. So what they're doing is they're data mining stuff that's in the files. That isn't leaks, right? Leaks are stuff that happen on top of that. Leaks are information that is known from before stuff gets added into the files. So when stuff is added into the files, I'm completely fine with it. But it's the action before that. Because now what we have is this cottage industry of leaking in War Thunder, and people, kind of pushing forward and even faking a bunch of stuff and going crazy about it. So I'm thanking the data miners, because what they do is something which they don't get paid for, right? It costs money to do these things. It's a passion for them to do this stuff. And they give information which can be very hard to get, especially since they use a lot of functions that they have created themselves, which is cool and amazing. But also, it's something that, at least from what I've seen, is very hard to monetize. So it is a complete passion project. So of course they should be thanked, because they put in a lot of effort to bring that information. Not leaking information, but information that is actually in the files, So they're two sets of people there. Fourth, just a general question about settings. If it's somehow possible in Naval that when you highlight a ship, is it possible to color the square around in a different color than the mouse gray? Especially on winter maps, it's hard to see terrain, trees at times with it being gray. I don't think so. The only place where that would be in the battle interface, right? I don't know if you can change that in the battle interface, but that would be at least where I would check. But no, I don't think you can. Hopefully in the future they give the option though, because stuff like that, being able to change colors to what you want is very important, and making the experience more tailored to you is the way to go. The HUD changes they're doing, or the UI changes they're doing in Naval, is really cool. I'm super pumped for that, especially long range engagements. It should be really nice. It means that you can angle your shots easier, and you don't have to. It's taking another piece of thought away from the player, which for a lot of people is a negative, because they want the whole skill level thing and everything like that. But for me in Naval, I just see more as a chill time, so I'm not too worried about those things. But hopefully in the future you'll be able to. Then we have Keith. Hey Tech. Hi. Been consistently watching your channel for a few months now. Really appreciate how you keep us all informed on what's going on. Well, that's all good. I try my best. It's been a little bit harder to do last year, but this year with the changes that we've made to the system and also a bunch of other things, it should be way easier. And yeah, it's I need to sit down one day and just kind of talk about my general day and what it looks like. I think that would be kind of useful. Just wanted to ask if you tried out the US 6-7 lineup, excluding the normal M26, because someone who was thrown down many flights of stairs as a child who was lobotomized thought it would go up to 6-7. It feels like this lineup is nasty after the recent BR changes. T-34 is probably my favorite of the bunch. Thanks, and have a good one. We were playing it the other day with the Sheridan, the new Battle Pass vehicle. Yeah, that lineup is nuts. And it's actually been one of my go-to lineups for the longest time for events. So when they used to do the summer and winter events, I would play the T-34 and the Scorpion and all these different things. It's an insanely powerful lineup, and also has really good cast elements too. So it's just really fun to play. I really enjoy the the vehicles, and I think kind of going forward, if they add even more of them, like it's just going to be nuts. Like it's one of those lineups which has like no it has no, what's the word? It has no medium tanks. And usually a lot of lineups are based around medium tanks, right? But right now, that lineup kind of sits out as one which doesn't have to worry about that. Like it just runs off light tanks and heavy tanks, which I think is pretty cool. And the P51H, you know, the F2G or the A1H or any of the others, even just a Corsair, they're all fantastic at that area. So yeah, it's a really fun lineup. I've had a great time with it. So we have Elex. You should use some old footage of War Thunder that are 5 years old in some of your regular videos, just to show people how the game has changed over time. Whenever I do that, people get pissy. Like, there was some videos where I was talking about the history of War Thunder. So like, kind of talking about like different areas, like old updates, or if there's like a specific question about like, oh, what's gone on here. So I actually show stuff from that era because I have footage going all the way back to like 2020. And obviously on the channel I have footage, you know, going all the way back to 2014, 13. But whenever I do that, people get annoyed at me because they say, oh, well, this looks awful, or oh, why are you using old footage? Do you not have new footage? And it's like, well, first of all, like there's over 2,000 vehicles in the game. Imagine having footage for every single one of them. And then second of all, like imagine playing them all in the last month. Like it's just crazy to think about, right? Like but yeah. I have done it in the past, but yeah, it usually has a negative reaction. But I think going forward I'll probably do it a little bit more with specific ideas, especially when we start talking about graphics and talking about stuff like that. But yeah, I do like using old footage just because, you know, it looks so different even to now. And, you know, it's not as if like my graphics settings have changed massively or anything. Like it's all basically the same. Then we have Suckass from Kiev. Hi Tech, hope you're having a great day. 2 questions. This guy has put 3. If the Swedish King Tiger is indeed going to come, do you think it'll be a nightmare for the other Tigers in the SPR or for other players? Type in the same single style as the Sherman 3.4 is for normal Shermans in the BR range. This part refers to why many veteran players play Sweden. I think many veteran players play Sweden because they have really good top tier. And they have really good light tanks. And one of the best AAs, and also, you know, they have really good MBTs. I don't think it's because of the Sherman 3.4. The Sherman 3.4 isn't even the best Sherman at that BR range. It's just a good vehicle because it's a Sherman. People really disrespect the Sherman, I don't know why. But it works really well. The Tiger 2, I hope it's not a premium. But I got a feeling it might be. And will it be overpowered? No. It's a Tiger 2P at the end of the day, so it's not a H. So it doesn't have the really good armor profile on the turrets. It has like the quite weak armor actually, so don't think it'll make too much of an issue, or it won't make too much of a difference, I should say, compared to it. And also the lineup around it's pretty weak. But yeah, I think most people play Sweden because it just has a really, really nice high tier lineup. So, did I have a life outside War Thunder? No, I'm terminally online. That's my life. I don't have anything else going on. But yeah, I don't think it'll have the same effect as the Sherman because the lineup's a lot worse. The lineup for the Swedish Sherman is really good, so I think it's quite good. Do you think Japan has any hope of receiving something from this update? I hope at least some tank or prop comes. Well, we saw the main thing they're getting. Like, obviously, they're getting the big naval thing. And it kind of sucks. Oh, and also the Type 90, I suppose. But it kind of sucks because, you know, whenever we talk about Japan, no one ever brings up the naval side of it. And Japan, over the last, like, few years, that's been where a lot of the progress has gone. You know, people talk about the Type 10, you know, obviously the addition of the F-16, all of that stuff. But if you have a look at their naval, especially like Blue Water Naval, they're just like hitting it out the park. Like, they have so many strong vehicles. They can. I think they're the only nation that can have basically 2 full lineups of 7.0 vehicles. Like, isn't that nuts? Like, isn't that crazy? That's absolutely insane when you think about it. So yeah, it's one of those things that's really interesting to at least look at. And yeah, they're in this update. They're getting a really good battleship. You know, it'll have the most damage out of all the battleships. It doesn't have any. It doesn't have anything that's a weakness apart from the AA on it. And then as long as you're near an ally with a bunch of AA, you'll be fine. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Crazy Hawk, nice to see you. Oh. Yeah, interesting to think about. This would not be a question, but rather an explanation. Uh-oh. I'm the guy who asked the question involving femboys last week. The explanation would be the reason for the trend that there was. In short, it would be several posts with the theme Rate My Setup, in which War Thunder appeared in the background, but everyone posted showing their legs. The vast majority of which were guys wearing big socks. There was a type of ad span, which in the end resulted in the banning of this trend and the deletion of the posts on Reddit. That would be the explanation part. And I'm glad that my question and the other tech talks created an excellent clickbait. Love from Brazil. You too. My guess is that, as I said, like, you can really, it's super easy to Photoshop that stuff, but I don't know, it seems a bit weird. But that would be a thing. I'd have to look more into it. But I don't really feel like looking more into War Thunder fanboys, if I'm honest with you. Like this, it's not really like, you know, it's not really something I'm that interested in. I'm quite happy with my sex life. So then we have Lazamin. Yes. No. But yes. Then we have Islam again. Hey Tech, how's the weather in Canada? Depends where you live. Canada's huge. It's really big. So it isn't just a case of like, you know, the weather's really nice here and not nice over there. But basically what our class Canada has is usually you just take European weather and then you just add a few numbers in the summer and then retract a few numbers in the winter. So that's pretty much it. Most of Canada in the winter is really rough, but BC isn't that bad. The summer, you know, once again, can be quite nice. The weather is definitely hectic in Canada, but once again, just depends where you are. Canada is a massive area, so yeah. I have a question. What is your response to people who cry in Facebook groups about the game getting worse with each update, but they keep playing? If they think the game is bad, they should stop playing, in my opinion. Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's the thing I've always said. I think if people are having a negative time with something that is something that you volunteer your time to, it might be time just to sit down and reassess your life, you know? But usually I just ignore those types of people, and if they want to engage me in something, I just go into a philosophical discussion about their life and work out what's actually troubling them. Because the vast majority, even like content creators, the vast majority of them that I've chatted to and talked to, usually when it comes to them like hating the game or disliking it, it either comes from them doing it for too long and feeling like they're like sucked into it because they have this whole personality into it and it's part of who they are, yada yada, blah blah. It's like a really interesting form of like sunken cost fallacy. Or they're just broken human beings who have a lot of tragedy in their life and they're repressing it and they're taking it out in the forms of media, which is something that happens a lot. You know, whether people are taking out, you know, it in videos or TikToks or games, usually the people who have anger issues in, you know, areas which are supposed to be more social and more kind of fun focused, it's usually because they have something in their life that has broken them and they don't want to deal with it. And that's okay. Like, that's fine. But once you realize that, you understand, you know, it's not the game that's doing it, it's the person. Which is why, you know, people can get frustrated at games or people can see negatives in them. But also at the same time, you know, they don't turn around and are like, oh my god, you know, everything's awful, blah, 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 blah. You know, some people just need a release valve from another part of their life. Like, imagine you're like a dude. You're like, I don't know, 55. And you have a wife, you have a bunch of kids. The kids have moved out. And the wife has decided, you know what? You know, we've had a good life, but I want to go and swing. And I want to, you know, go get railed by, you know, this line of dudes over here. Like, as the individual, like, husband or whatever, there's probably going to be a little bit of animosity to the point where you're, you know, your wife is being used as a hot dog bun, right? So what you're going to try and find, because you're not going to be able to talk to her about it, right? So instead, you're going to have to find other avenues to be able to take out your frustration. And the problem is, because the world is becoming more antisocial as we go, you can't go to like a bar and like talk about this to people, or, you know, you can't like act out, you know, your issues. You can't get into fights and stuff like that. You can't get away from all that stuff. So what ends up happening instead is people go online and get annoyed instead, because it's one of the only places where they feel like they actually have some kind of social leaning where they can express how they truly feel. So yeah, welcome to video games, and why a lot of people who get annoyed at them, instead of doing the right thing, which is putting it down and walking away, they just get worse and worse and worse because they can't get out of that cycle because they've got no other way of releasing that pressure valve. And whenever you try and talk to them about that, they can just retreat away from that world and go back into, you know, the video game world where they feel comfortable, because the harsh truth stuff hurts. So yeah, I just do that, and then people get pissed at me. And then in like 2 or 3 years, they just turn around and message me and say, yeah, you're right. Fair enough, sorry, blah, blah, blah. And by that point, I don't even remember what happened, so... that's happened so many times, man. So yeah, that's about it. Best thing to do is just ignore it. It's their life. If they want to get annoyed, who cares? So then we have Hellwolf. I came for the fanboys and came to the fanboys. You get some very weird comments when you mention fanboys. Then you have Manuel. I saw so many fanboys in the last few days. Like, who the fuck summoned you? Unfortunately, the standard generation of people having less sex. Next one. Then we have Let's Go Brandon Trump 2024. Tech, where's the update for the Arietes armor and Spore liner? If that's not happening, when will it be lowered in rank and BR? Don't know. They said that they're working on it, right? Or working on the sources for it. So my guess would be in the next few updates. Like, I don't know. We haven't had any mentions of new Spore liners in this dev server or in this update. So yeah, they're probably still working on it. They did something to the Challenger. Like, BVVD on the sneak peek stream was trying to show that he'd done something to the Challenger. I have no idea what he did, but he did something. So maybe they're working on that. Maybe they might just have like an update. You got to remember that. So the Spore liners as they were, there was they were only going to add it to the T90M to start with. And then they were going to gradually add others, you know, as a selling point for the T90M. But that ended up not happening because of the fact that you know, people complained. So they brought forward a bunch of the sporeliners that they probably had ready that would have been introduced in this update, you know? So now you've got kind of like a haul of content before you get the next set. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. You know, they could literally just add new versions of the vehicles with the sporeliner if they wanted to be a bit of an arse about it. Like, once again, M1 Abrams SP, and then M1 Abrams P. So you got or SL. So you got the sporeliner Abrams, then you got the prototype DU Abrams. Like, they could easily do that, like if they really wanted to. So yeah, my guess is that stuff won't be too far away. But yeah, with the Centauro being added, of course they'll probably want to try and get people to play Italy. So maybe they'll add it in. Maybe they'll add more DM53 to things. Then we have Sergeant Schultz. I swear there must be at least 100 different femboy clans in War Thunder. You see a lot of them at 8-7 ARB and up. They're usually trash, and they spend all game typing in chat. Fair enough. I think as usual with very small minorities of people massively overrepresent them in their minds. One of the really interesting things is having a look at statistics on specific ideas. So the US Army one is actually really interesting. So, because this is like a debate that comes around a lot. So, people think the U.S. Armed Forces are very, like, the percentage of minorities that are involved in the U.S. Armed Forces is a lot higher in their minds than it is in real life, right? And it's because of advertising, because a lot of advertisements, especially for the US Armed Forces or for other armed forces, target specific groups of people that aren't ones which are overrepresented in the armed forces. So they're trying to target people who they already, you know, who are new kind of demographics for what they want, right? Standard marketing, right? So what this leads people to believe is there's a massive overrepresentation of specific minorities and areas because they're the ones that get all the focus, because they're trying to bring them up to the next level, right? To like the other sets that are there, which is why, you know, you don't have like a straight month, but you have an LGBT month, or why you have Black History Month instead of White History Month. The idea is so you push forward a certain type or whatever, so it becomes part of the norm of what the other thing is, and then you go from there. Now, when it comes to femboys, that's exactly what happens. It's the same with weebs. The vast majority of people are not weebs. Turns out, right? And it turns out the vast majority of people aren't femboys. Otherwise, we would have quite an interesting population crisis. But once again, because it's a minority, because it's an aggressive minority, and also because it's quite a loud minority, which can be quite fun, it means that it's overrepresented. So that's why in your head it triggers that you see these things, right? Like over and over and over again. Because you could see like 1,000 squadrons, right? And you won't remember them. Like in this one, right? You got CUM, TEC ES, ACNT, VTAF, ByGE, UPEX, Buns, you know, Aqua, SPub, Durka, Magic. Like, you have millions of them. You won't notice them. But the moment one says, like, I don't know, ooh woo, or bend over, or like something like that, or spread them, that it triggers your head and you remember it. It's the same reaction when you see. It's the same reaction when people remember negative things compared to positive things. You know, the same idea. So it isn't that you're seeing more of them. It's just you're not. You are seeing more of them because you are forgetting about the other ones, because your mind is not trained to look for them. So either you want to see more femboys, or your mind is tricking you to see more femboys because you don't always see femboys compared to what the standard is, right? Human psychology is a very interesting thing. Well, nobody's saying femboys can't be themselves. We're just talking about why your brain reacts how it does, you know? Then we have Goofer, Canadian subtree. Soon, baby. Soon. If you saw the most recent leaks, it's kind of interesting to see. Slow Fast Crew, femboys. Life on the X, who are the femboys? Well, effeminate men, basically. That's usually how it sets up. And we have definitely not PC. Saw femboys in the title and instantly clicked, which is crazy. Then we have Fluffy Toaster. Wait, femboys. A lot of femboys chat here. Oh my god. Then we have an essay. Forward animatics. Let's see. The skill in simulator is buying the right technology in simulator. Yeah, that definitely gatekeeps people who can't afford those peripherals. Definitely a hot take for sure. I'm sure that comment just lit half the sim community on fire with you. That's fine, that's only like 5 people. Players who simply don't have those peripherals can't compete. There isn't an argument for that, but it's also completely out of any player's control to be able to ensure everyone does have these peripherals. It's the same argumentation for crossplay in any FPS game. Aim assist versus mouse, never-ending issue, and it will never be balanced, simply because there are vastly different peripherals. Yeah, that's true. I personally don't know anyone who played Simulator because of the use of peripherals, but instead they tried Simulator because of the challenge and the greater focus on player skill and tactics. I have met many people who have bought peripherals to try in Simulator. The peripherals helped refine those tactics and skills so as to have better control in that mode. The removal of UI elements like missile tags, names, distances that make Simulator fun to play, the added challenge of flying your aircraft with no instructor is also part of it in the cockpit-only view. If I understand correctly, suggesting Guardian remove air sim because of the botting, correct? I think that solution is a bad one, as the botting players will simply go play other modes and thereby exacerbate the problem even further. No, the botting players actually started to play other modes because they weren't getting enough done in sim, basically. So they realized that they could get more stuff done in other modes, like bombing bases and obviously naval stuff and things like that. But no, if you actually listen to what I said not to remove sim. I said to remove development of sim. That's 2 very different things. Doesn't mean remove the game mode. It just means stop developing it. You know, and as I said in the last one, there's a bunch of reasons for that, and also blah 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 blah. Not going to go into it again. If instead development of a simulator be halted, I'm not sure what that honestly looks like, but you pointed out some obvious issues and presented some solutions like bringing a pre-made list of vehicles available each day to play, for example. Yeah, same as Ground Sim. Maybe that'd fix the issue? Yes, it would. It would... Right, well... I'll show you the fix to sim like in 2 seconds. But it'd likely just lead to these botting players to just play Air RB or Ground RB. That's fine, they'll get banned easier. Because high-tier jets wouldn't always be available, so they'd just reinfect those modes. They're already in those modes. If there were a mode that captured the feeling of simulator and removed the bots, that'd be Ground Simulator, as it's the closest thing, and for the most part it feels genuine. There are bots in Ground Simulator. They usually play helicopters, or they play AAs. Lastly, I agree Air Simulator should be shut down. What? But I think the reason it isn't is because these botting players would simply abuse the other modes, unfortunately, and ruin the experience for the vast majority of players. It's a roller coaster of a comment, that one. Right, so as somebody who has played pretty much all the game modes, there was bots in all of them. They didn't start off in Sim, they actually were in Naval for the longest time. Like the Naval Moffats, the Helenas, the Oygons. They've been there for years, even the beginning of the game, because they realized, once again, the biggest thing that they could do is they could grind out tech trees with these vehicles and pump other profiles with them, because they could get the, they could grind them to rank 5 or whatever and get the rewards for that through refer a friend and then sell the accounts. Botting has been in every game mode for the longest time. They recently banned a bunch of people in Sim for botting, but you've got to remember before that, before they banned those guys in Sim, there was like 15,000 accounts which were banned in other game modes. So even though they banned, like, I think it was like what, 200, 300 people in Sim, and then they temporarily banned like another 600, in other game modes they banned like 15,000. Right? So those bots are already over there. They were already all around, you know, causing issues, moving about. So what you're looking at is two separate sets of bots. They're not the same people, right? They work in different ways. But yeah, the BR thing would fix it. The peripheral stuff is definitely true. I know it's anecdotal, but so is the counter argument. There's been people who've turned up on the stream who have played War Thunder for a while, and they play like Realistic, and then I don't know, they get like a HOTAS for a birthday or something for Christmas, and then they go, "Oh, I got to give this a go. I'm gonna play Sim." They do it all the time. Like we see it all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the gear thing, I'm not really too bothered about, like because you still have like the console thing and the PC thing. Yeah, it's Teddy literally says that's what he did. Like we've seen it a bunch of times. It's just how it goes. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just how it is. The other thing is the reason why there is so much abuse in Sim is very simple. It is straight up because of the way that you can create your own rooms. If you remove that, right? If you remove that, you fix the issue instantly. But the problem I've had in the past is whenever I've talked to people who claim to be in the Sim community of War Thunder, I get a lot of pushback for that. Because it's taking away something from them that they want to be able to use. I know a lot of people who are in Discords where they set up matches with each other. Like they want to play on a map, they all want to play together, they all want to grind the event, maybe they want to play on both sides. I've been part of events where after the events, people go, "Okay, the event's over, hey, do you guys want to go into a Sim lobby together? Let's create one and go into this one." That happens all the time. And it's not people being malicious. They just want to play with, their mates. But you also can't tell me that with a system like that existing, that I have to also take the game mode seriously. Right? Like, that's the thing. I find it very hard to take it seriously because that exists. I can't think of any game where you are able to pick and choose your PvP matchmaking. So you pick who you play against, and also you pick who's on your team. Right? The only place I've ever seen that is on very high level competitive stuff, and that's not what's happening in SM. Like, when you get, like, I think Face It in CS2 or CSGO, what they do is they throw 10 people in a room, and then you have team captains, and the team captains pick who goes on each side, right? I think that was how Face It worked. So, like that, and you're talking about something where money's involved, and it's a proper tournament competition thing, right? Not just a random game to grind stuff out. So if they remove that matchmaking system, right, and they just instill, the battle rating one, or they instill the standard one, then I'm good to go. That's the thing. That's the problem. It's the matchmaking. That's why I find it very hard to ever take it seriously. Not normal Face It. It might have been something else. Yeah, it could be FBL. It's one of the Counter-Strike services that people use to, it's kind of like a competitive tournament thing. So yeah, I think the place where SM is now is fine, and they're gonna add a bunch of stuff to it over time. If they want to continue to use it as a testing ground for ideas, that's good. But at the same time, when it comes to the simulator side of things, I'm never really gonna fully take it seriously. I don't know. Whenever I've talked about these issues or talked about these problems, I get one or two things. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And you know, it just is how it is. Or it's no, I like this system because it makes a difference with the game modes. But yeah, so it's just it's at the end of the day, it's just what you enjoy and what other people enjoy. How do you want to tailor your gaming experience to you? So we have Stripper Z. What about us femboys with War Thunder? I don't know. And then we have Look. Femboys rule War Thunder. They rule them. They're all over the place. Crazy. They're flying around the place. Not really, though. That's all the stuff in the tech talk. You know, quite a lot of things at the end of the day. Decent amount of stuff thrown in, so can't really be mad. A lot of good stuff to go through, and also at the same time, the fact that we've been able to do all the dev server stuff at the same time is quite good. Like I'm happy with the last week or so. Hopefully we can continue and, you know, have a bit of fun. Do you guys have any questions from the chat before we wrap this up? This will be out on Monday, but it'll be next week as long as there isn't like dev server stuff or anything like that. We'll go back to the standard stuff, so you won't have to worry too much. Explain my part in the fall of Yugoslavia. I wasn't involved in that one, unfortunately. I was involved in the Czech one, but not the Yugo one. The Czech one was obviously a lot more peaceful, so definitely better. But yeah. With War Thunder, would you like the CAD to be in the UK or the US tech tree? I would like the Canadian stuff to be in the British tech tree because the American tech tree does not need help, right? The American tech tree has everything that it needs and more, whereas the British tech tree, even after the addition of the South Africans, still has a few gaps in it. So I would want it to be different from that point. When will I stop being a Gaijin bootlicker? True. I've never said anything negative about the company decisions. Did you tell my mom I was in Chechnya? Don't think so. Is the beard fake or is it real? That's the real question. Okay. That'll be the end of the tech talk. We'll continue streaming as usual. But yeah. Will we see more North Korean vehicles? Yeah, definitely. Still waiting for the Chonmaho. UK light tanks, any idea how they could implement them? The same way they've implemented all the other ones. The Fox is coming this update. It'll be nice to see. Hey Beefy, nice to see you. Right, end of the tech talk. Look after yourselves. See you soon. Bye bye.